Chapter 622. This was a terrifying scene. Boundless spiritual light transformed into a destructive wave that rushed up, instantly annihilating the surrounding space. In the area where the Golden Fire Tao Gate was located, the palaces instantly collapsed, and the ground rumbled and caved in. The group of cultivators who came with Jiang Luan and the others, those who were below the half-step Great Tao realm, were all turned into pools of blood in an instant. The entire Golden Fire Tao Gate was destroyed in the blink of an eye. Boom! The spiritual light was still rushing up like a destructive wave, reaching about 100 feet high. Violent winds swept in all directions, collapsing and shattering everything. Even though the cultivators who came to watch had already retreated far away, most of them were still thrown to the ground by the violent hurricane. At that moment, everyone was terrified. They were all shivering. Some of the more cowardly ones even fainted on the spot. Boom! 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 Inside the Golden Fire Tao Gate, spiritual light shone brightly, annihilating everything, and the void kept exploding. Even though Lin Tian rode the Black Flood Dragon out of the Golden Fire Tao Gate's range, he was still swept up by the violent hurricane and was forced back dozens of feet. Ah! A scream came from inside the Golden Fire Tao Gate. The half-step Great Tao expert from the phaseless immortal sect wailed and fled into the air. His entire body was covered in blood. However, just as he leaped into the air, his body shattered and turned into a bloody mist. It was as if a large piece of ice had melted. Outside the Golden Fire Tao Gate, the onlookers were all terrified when they saw this scene. Cold sweat dripped down their foreheads. This was a half-step Great Tao expert who looked down on the immortal realm. Now he was annihilated so easily. These people stared at the Golden Fire Tao Gate. The ground was still collapsing, and they couldn't help but tremble. Whoosh! Suddenly, a ray of light rushed out from the Golden Fire Tao Gate. Dense dragon talismans intertwined around it, and it escaped into the distance in the blink of an eye. Lin Tian stood on the Black Flood Dragon's back. A cold light flashed in his eyes. "Old thing, you're still alive." He transmitted his voice to the Black Flood Dragon. Instantly, the Black Flood Dragon turned into lightning and rushed toward the escaping figure. The figure was covered in dragon talismans. He didn't even need to think to know that it was Jiang Luan from the dragon-seeking family. Boom! Suddenly, a huge wave erupted in front of him. The power of the immortal vein was like a destructive sea, rushing even higher. It was like a blazing wall of flames, forcibly stopping the Black Flood Dragon's body. If he were to charge forward, he would definitely be met with a great disaster. This pause lasted for several breaths of time. The Black Flood Dragon quickly avoided such a huge wave, but it still lost track of Jiang Luan. Lin Tian cursed inwardly. He had detonated the 12 immortal veins of the Golden Flames Tao School with the help of countless dragon patterns. Who would have thought that Jiang Luo and actually didn't die, but instead managed to escape? Now, he had lost all signs of life. That old bastard really walked very far on the path of the Dragon Tao. In that kind of situation, he actually relied on the concentrated dragon talismans to preserve his life. At this time, the 12 immortal veins were already pretty much blown up. Within the Golden Flame Tao Gate, faint light flickered, accompanied by miserable cries. There were weak Tao waves that interweaved. Lin Tian lowered his head and looked down. Inside the collapsed Golden Fire Tao Gate, the Grand Elder was covered in wounds and blood. There was a golden awl protecting his body. However, the awl was also badly damaged. A cold light flashed past Lin Tian's eyes. There was still one who didn't die. The 12 immortal veins were already blown up. He leapt down from the Black Flood Dragon's back, landing in front of the Golden Flames Tao Gate's Grand Elder. With the protection of a high-grade Tao weapon, "You actually managed to survive," he said with a cold laugh. The Golden Flames Tao Gate's Grand Elder was covered in blood, his body in tatters. Quite a bit of his flesh melted away, about to collapse at any moment. He was only barely able to preserve his life by relying on the high-grade Tao weapon. Right now, he stared at Lin Tian. This person's eyes filled with resentment, shock, fear, and anger. His voice was hoarse and trembling. Lin Tian, you, things have already reached this point. Why are you still wasting your energy? Forget it. He looked down at this person, saying, I'll help you free yourself. When his words fell, he stomped down, directly trampling this person into pieces. Only the golden all fell to the ground with a clanging sound. Glancing at this person's broken corpse, he raised his hand and picked up the shuttle-shaped golden all that fell to the ground. After carefully sizing it up, he was a bit disappointed. Facing the 12 immortal veins that he had blown up, this grand elder of the Golden Flames Tao Gate was not strong enough. The golden all was already damaged beyond recognition. Now, this golden all was only comparable to a high-grade immortal artifact. He inwardly shook his head, but still put this golden all away. Although it had fallen from the level of a Tao weapon, in terms of power, it was still comparable to a high-grade immortal artifact, or even slightly stronger. It could be considered an extraordinary treasure. After putting away the golden all, he sized up his surroundings. The Golden Flames Tao Gate was a sea of fire that reached the sky. The entire place collapsed, turning into ruins. Without staying, he leapt into the air. The Black Flood Dragon shrunk its monster body and lay on his shoulder. Then he directly shot into the distance. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared from this place. In the blink of an eye, dozens of breaths passed. Inside the Golden Flames Tao Gate, because the 12 immortal veins had exploded, the raging flames continued to burn, giving off sizzling sounds. Only at this time, far away from the Golden Flames Tao Gate, did many people come back to their senses. Looking at the Golden Flames Tao Gate, these people could not help but swallow their saliva. Their backs were covered in a layer of white hair and cold sweat. The Golden Flames Tao Gate was completely uprooted. A group of experts from the Xuanlong family came here, a group of experts from the Phaseless Immortal Sect came here, and the Golden Flames Tao Gate's Grand Elder held a high-grade Tao weapon. These people were all shocked. They all stared with their eyes wide open, trembling, and could not even speak a complete sentence. Soon, everything in this place spread like a plague, spreading to the entire Shin continent. One of the 12 Tao Gates, the Golden Flames Tao Gate, was destroyed by Lin Tian. The Grand Elder of the Golden Flames Tao Gate returned with a high-grade Tao weapon. The experts of the Phaseless Immortal Sect and the Xuanlong family charged over. But in the end, except for the Xuanlong Master Jiang Wan who barely escaped, the rest were all killed in the Golden Flames Tao Gate. The 12 immortal veins of the Golden Flames Tao Gate had completely exploded. For a time, a stormy wave swept through the Shun continent. Many cultivators rushed to the place where the Golden Flames Tao Gate was established from all directions, wanting to determine if the news was true. Then, when they saw the collapsed Golden Flames Tao Gate, when they saw the charred ground, and when they saw the dismembered body of the Golden Flames Tao Gate's Grand Elder, everyone's expression changed. The Golden Flames Tao Gate had really been destroyed by Lin Tian. One of the 12 Tao Gates. Some people trembled. The Golden Flames Tao Gate, one of the 12 Tao Gates, was powerful, had a deep foundation, and had been passed down for a long time. But now, it was completely destroyed by a small cultivator in the airborne realm, and its 12 immortal veins were destroyed. In the past thousands of years, such a major event had never happened in the Shun continent. Such a major event was enough to be recorded in the history of cultivation in the Shun continent. It could be said that this was the most shocking shock in the Shun continent in the past thousands of years. This is really unimaginable. A cultivator in the airborne realm can actually do this. It's like the reincarnation of a peerless demon. Many cultivators felt their hearts palpitate. The world was shaken, and all the cultivators were shocked. The dragon-seeking family and the formless immortal sect were both gloomy. The two great forces had been slapped in the face by Lin Tian time and time again. Up until now, they had both lost dozens of immortal ascension realm experts. Among the two, especially the formless immortal sect, when they heard this news, the 7 supreme elders of this lineage almost vomited blood. In the beginning, their lineage had been tricked by Lin Tian to kill a great Tao realm expert, and more than 20 Immortal Ascension realm experts. Then, in Muyong City, their stronghold had been destroyed by Lin Tian, and a group of outstanding disciples and several Immortal Ascension realm experts had died. And now, another half-step Great Dao realm expert and dozens of Immortal Ascension realm experts had been killed by Lin Tiansha. This caused the 7 supreme elders of this lineage to fly into a rage, and all of them could not help but roar, causing the entire void of the formless immortal sect to tremble. Kill! 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 We must kill this beast! One of them roared. On top of the formless immortal sect, the void was finally shattered, scaring many of the formless immortal sect disciples to the point of trembling. At the same time, in a few other corners of the sect, a few elders had gloomy expressions as they shook their heads in desolation. These few people had followed Tua Yili to the Ascension Dao School in order to destroy the Ascension Dao School. In the end, Lin Tianji had killed Tua Yili, and the Ascension Dao School had released all of them. They had originally objected to finding trouble with Lin Tian, because that itself was ungrateful. At that time, they had said that it was very inappropriate, but what they got in return was the scolding of a few supreme elders. Sigh. Some of the elders couldn't help but sigh. From a fair and just standpoint, wasn't all of this caused by the supreme elders of his own bloodline? Weren't the deaths of the sect experts and sect disciples all because of the stubbornness of the few supreme elders of his own bloodline? Whose fault was this? On this day, at this time, the only person who was happy and excited was undoubtedly the Ascension Dao School. When Lu Wei heard this news, he was so excited that he once again smashed a jade table. Good. Almost at the same time, crashing sounds could be heard in the Ascension Dao sect. The 12 reclusive elders, the ordinary elders, the deacons, and even the ordinary disciples seemed to have a tacit understanding. When they saw something unimportant, they would kick it. When they saw something unimportant, they would smash it. All of them were so excited that they could not control themselves. As expected of the sect leader, those dogs from the Golden Fire Dao School were actually annihilated by the sect leader. Ha. Awesome. Next, it will soon be the turn of those shameless things from the formless immortal sect. There's also the dragon-seeking family. If they dare to attack our sect leader, they will be annihilated in the end. The disciples of the Ascension Dao School clenched their fists. Time passed, and in the blink of an eye, several days had passed. As for the huge Shen continent, it was still in a state of great shock. A huge Dao sect that had been passed down for a long time was destroyed just like that. Fiend! Several days had already passed, but every time this matter was mentioned, the cultivators of the Shen continent would still feel a chill down their spines. The two words, Lin Tian, seemed to have a demonic nature, causing one's heart to turn cold when they mentioned it. Very quickly, another 7 days passed. It had already been half a month since the Golden Fire Dao School was annihilated. On this day, Lin Tian slowly walked through an ordinary forest deep in the mountains. He was brimming with energy and vitality. It's time to break through to the 9th level of the Imperial Sky Realm. His eyes were filled with a bright light. Chapter 6:23. The old forest was very ordinary. There were many yellow leaves and broken branches on the ground. Crunching sounds could be heard when one stepped on them. Lin Tian walked calmly. Soon, he found an absolutely secluded cave in this old forest. He entered and sat down cross-legged. He silently channeled the 4 extreme meridians. A faint silver light flickered outside his body. His essence, chi, and spirit quickly reached the peak. It's done, he muttered to himself. With a wave of his right hand, a large pile of Lingjing suddenly fell out. It was at least 1,200 caddies. With this Lingjing, he was ready to break through to the 9th level of the airborne realm. The black Jiao dragon flew from his shoulder. Its monster body enlarged to about 5 inches. It came near the entrance of the cave and looked around. It was obvious that it wanted to guard him. Thanks, Lin Tiandao said. He took a deep breath and channeled the 4 extreme meridians again. Then, a faint silver light flickered on the surface of his body. The silver light flickered like starlight. His essence, chi, and spirit had reached the peak, showing a full state. He began to absorb the Lingjing's spirit chi around him. All of a sudden, the rich spirit chi in the large pile of spirit crystals began to surge into his body like a small stream. As his cultivation increased, his consumption of Lingjing would increase. The speed of absorption would also become faster. At this moment, the rich spirit chi floated in the air. As if it was attracted by something, it kept surging and covering him. Being in such rich spirit chi of heaven and earth, he channeled the 4 extreme meridians again and again. The Lingjing's spirit chi flickered and flowed into his body like a small river. At the same time, he immersed his divine sense in his body and guided the spirit chi into his spiritual ether. He seriously refined the spiritual ether in his body and wiped out the impurities in it. Silver light intertwined around him. Time passed quickly. The spirit chi flickered and the silver light flickered. The aura he emitted became stronger and stronger, rising bit by bit. At the same time, the large pile of Lingjing around him was also being consumed rapidly. It was disappearing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Soon, 10 hours had passed. After 10 hours, the 1,200 kilograms of spiritual crystals that he had taken out had all been used up. However, at this time, he had not reached the 9th layer of the Zephyr realm. He had only reached 3/5 of the 8th layer of the Zephyr realm. This made him frown and feel a little surprised. I heard that the stronger the physique, the more Lingjing is needed to increase the same level of cultivation. Seems like it's true. He muttered to himself. He took a deep breath. He waved his hand and took out another pile of Lingjing. When he was at the Golden Fire Dao sect, he had obtained a total of 3,000 caddies of spiritual crystals. He had used up 1,000 caddies to support the killing array, so he was left with 2,000 caddies. At this moment, he took out all the remaining spiritual crystals. He even took out the few head-sized dragon technique spiritual crystals that he had obtained from the dragon-seeking family's genius, Jiang Jinli, and placed them beside him. He continued to circulate the 4 extreme scripture. Around him, Lingjing light intertwined. Rich spirit chi surged like a stream. His expression was solemn. His divine sense was immersed in his body. He seriously used the spirit chi to refine his true yuan, making his true yuan pure. During this process, the aura he exuded also became stronger and stronger, rising steadily. Gradually, the last 400 caddies of Lingjing were used up. There were only a few head-sized Lingjing left. It was also at this time that a majestic force rushed out of his body, stirring up small hurricanes in the cave. 9th level of the airborne realm, Lin Tian opened his eyes. 2 rays of light flashed. With a sweep of his divine sense, he could clearly feel that the true yuan in his body had become more vigorous. His essence, energy, and spirit had also become stronger. His strength had increased greatly. He stood up and walked to the entrance of the cave. The black dragon glanced at him. Its demon body shrunk again, and it leaped onto his shoulder. He walked out of the cave and scanned the old forest. Suddenly, he felt that something was different. There was a huge difference from when he was at the 8th level of the airborne realm. His perception had increased by a lot. Moreover, he could faintly feel a pressure that was faintly discernible. This pressure was very frightening, and it made his heart pound. I've reached the 9th level of the airborne realm. I'm just 1 step away from entering the immortal realm. He looked up at the sky and squinted his eyes. He said in a self-deprecating manner, "The 3,000 great Daos are already preparing for my immortal tribulation." Although his tone was self-deprecating, he was secretly in awe. Now that he had reached the 9th level of the airborne realm, he had to start preparing for the immortal tribulation. One had to know that for cultivators, the immortal tribulation was a terrifying natural disaster. All cultivators would start preparing for the immortal tribulation after reaching the 9th level of the airborne realm. Even so, when they finally entered the immortal realm, 90% of them would still die under the heavenly tribulation. This showed how terrifying the immortal tribulation was. Lin Tian was even more unusual. At this moment, he looked at the sky and frowned deeply. He was a reincarnated being. When he entered the airborne realm, he he attracted the great path heavenly tribulation. It was terrifying. When he entered the immortal realm, there was no doubt that the power of the heavenly tribulation would be even more terrifying. It would definitely surpass that of others. He had a feeling that his immortal tribulation would probably be destructive. Even with the help of the Black Dragon, who was half a step away from the Great Path realm, it would probably be difficult to pass. He still needed to make other preparations. This damned, reincarnated being. He couldn't help but curse in his heart. The other 11 king physiques were the same as ordinary cultivators. They would only attract the heavenly tribulation when they reached the immortal realm. As for him, he was almost killed by the heavenly tribulation when he was in the airborne realm. Now, he hadn't really entered the immortal realm, but it seemed that the Great Path had begun to miss him. It vaguely made him feel a chill down his spine, as if a pair of cold eyes were staring at him. In this way, one could imagine how terrifying his immortal tribulation would be. It would definitely far surpass the other king physiques. He even felt that when he entered the Great Path realm in the future, would he continue to attract an even more terrifying heavenly tribulation? Thinking of this, he had the urge to curse out loud. He took a deep breath and calmed himself down after a long while. Before the immortal tribulation, where can I borrow a high-grade Tao weapon? Or I can ask for the help of a Great Path realm powerhouse. He muttered to himself. As he thought about it, he couldn't help but shake his head. Where could he borrow a high-grade Tao weapon? Where could he find a Great Path powerhouse to help? The Ascension sect had high-grade Tao weapons and Great Path powerhouses. However, he couldn't go to the Ascension sect. If he was discovered, the phaseless immortal sect would definitely mercilessly attack the Ascension sect. Even the Xuanlong family might join in. I should find a powerful and terrifying heaven and earth momentum and carve countless dragon patterns in advance. With the help of the heaven and earth momentum, I should be able to resist the heavenly tribulation. A ray of light flashed across his eyes. It shouldn't be a problem for the god burial mountain to fall. Thinking of this, he nodded secretly. Suddenly, he felt a little fortunate. Fortunately, he had obtained the complete dragon burial scripture. This ancient scripture was really too magical. The problem of how to transcend the immortal tribulation should be solved. This made him secretly heave a sigh of relief. He swept his gaze across this ancient forest deep in the mountains. A light breeze blew, sweeping up pieces of yellow, withered leaves, sandwiched between them. After advancing to the 9th level, I should go out and exercise. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly. After a slight pause, he walked out of the old forest. Leaf Wind City, the second ancient city of the Shun continent, was located in the north of the Shun continent. It was majestic, like an ancient giant beast lying on the ground. This ancient city had the most famous Lingjing shop. This Lingjing shop naturally belonged to the Xuanlong Jiang family. Countless cultivators went in and out every day to trade Lingjing. On this day, Lin Tian stepped into Leaf Wind City. Everyone in the city widened their eyes as he arrived outside the Lingjing shop. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly as he stepped in. "Welcome to the Jiang family." Someone walked over, but the next moment his expression changed. "Lin Tian?" Lin Tianyi smiled as warm as the sun. A long sword appeared in his hand, and he casually slashed out. Puff! Blood splattered, and the Jiang family member who came forward died on the spot. "Those who are not from the Xuanlong Jiang family leave," he said. In fact, there was no need for him to say anything. The moment he came in, when the cultivators outside the Jiang family and the Lingjing shop recognized him, they all ran away in the blink of an eye as if they had seen a ghost. Only a group of Jiang family members stared at Lin Tian in shock and anger. There was an immortal reaching realm powerhouse guarding here. He appeared fierce but was timid inside. "Lin Tian, what do you want to do? Just killing people?" Lin Tiandao. The long sword in his hand shook slightly, and the killing sword light swept in all directions. The person who spoke was a powerhouse at the peak of the third heaven of a mortal-reaching realm. His aura was extraordinary, but he was still killed by Lin Tian in the end. After his cultivation reached the 9th heaven of the Zephyr realm, his combat strength had greatly improved. His every move was astonishing. Screams resounded throughout the Lingjing shop. About an hour later, the spiritual crystal workshop quieted down. The 100 or so people who had been guarding the workshop had all been killed. Among them, there were 7 immortal-reaching realm powerhouses, dozens of airborne realm powerhouses, and dozens of sea of consciousness realm cultivators. Lin Tian casually walked into the Lingjing shop and soon found about 400 kilograms of Lingjing. This made him slightly satisfied, but at the same time, he couldn't help but shake his head slightly. One had to know that the entire Golden Fire Dao Sex accumulation was only 3,000 kilograms of Lingjing. However, the Jiang family had a reserve of 800 kilograms of Lingjing just outside the Lingjing shop. One could imagine how much Lingjing was stored in the place where this family was established. It would definitely be very frightening. It was not an exaggeration to say that the Lingjing of the 6 major immortal sects, the 12 Dao sects, and a group of small sects combined could not compare to the Jiang family. He shook his head and stopped thinking about it. He turned around and walked out of the Lingjing shop. It was not until he was hundreds of feet away that a bright sword light flew past and directly cut the Lingjing shop into pieces. Facing the fearful eyes of many people in the city, he walked out of the city and disappeared into the distance. This, too ferocious. What a devil. Many people couldn't help but tremble. After leaving Yifeng City, Lin Tian walked casually. In the next few days, he went to several other ancient cities one after another. In these ancient cities, there were strongholds set up by the dragon-seeking family and the phaseless immortal sect. They were all guarded by immortal-reaching realm powerhouses. However, without exception, they were all destroyed by him. None of the people guarding them left alive. P.S. Last night, I originally planned to write a chapter first, but then I wrote until 1 o'clock in the morning. I was really dizzy and my eyelids were fighting, so I couldn't write and fell asleep. Then, when I woke up this morning, my eyes hurt. It's the kind that hurts when I move my eyes. I cried and wrote the second chapter. Chapter 624. Without a doubt, destroying the strongholds of these 2 factions caused another storm. It swept through the entire Shin continent, causing all the cultivators to widen their eyes. Compared to the destruction of the Golden Flames Dao sect, this matter was nothing. However, everyone knew that the faces of the people from the formless immortal sect and the dragon-seeking family were probably green with anger. This ruthless person, some people's hearts palpitated. Many cultivators couldn't help but reach a consensus. Lin Tian, this person, must not be provoked. Too ruthless. At the same time, the formless immortal sect and the dragon-seeking family were undoubtedly furious. They had been provoked and slapped in the face by Lin Tian time and time again. More experts from the 2 factions appeared, and there were at least 2 half-step great Dao experts leading them. They were determined to kill Lin Tian. Unfortunately, Lin Tian had long faded out of everyone's sight. The 2 factions tried their best to find him, but they couldn't find him. In an old forest, sunlight shone through the gaps between the branches and leaves, revealing small spots on the ground. Lin Tian walked alone in the forest. The dragon patterns under his feet flickered as he communicated with the earth veins. Not long after, he found some Lingjing and left the old forest. After fading out of the sight of the world, he prepared to reach the immortal ascension realm first. For this reason, he needed to dig out about 20,000 kilograms of Lingjing. However, even if he controlled the complete dragon burial scripture, it would take him a lot of time to dig out 20,000 kilograms of Lingjing by himself. Therefore, he devoted more of his time to cultivation. At the same time, he would occasionally enter some desolate and dangerous forest to fight with ferocious beasts to hone his skills. In the blink of an eye, half a month passed. In half a month, he dug out Lingjing while cultivating and fighting with various ferocious beasts. His aura had increased by a lot, and Lingjing had accumulated about 3,000 kilograms. Of course, more than half of it was obtained when he destroyed the strongholds of the dragon-seeking family and the formless immortal sect. In half a month, he had only found a few hundred kilograms. The dragon-seeking Jiang family really has a lot of Lingjing. If I destroy them, Reaching the immortal ascension realm will be a piece of cake, he muttered to himself. After destroying nearly 10 strongholds of the two big forces, he got 90% of the Ling Jing from the strongholds of the Jiang family. If we can dig out 1 or 2 immortal veins, that would be good. Why don't we take the risk and try the immortal devil ancient vein again? I always feel like there are countless Ling Jing in there. The 12 immortal veins of the golden fire Dao Gate. What a pity, he whispered to himself. In the path of a cultivator, the immortal ascension realm was a huge watershed. After entering the immortal ascension realm, one's vital essence would turn into divine power. Only then would one truly step into the sacred palace of cultivation. Lin Tian naturally wanted to enter the immortal ascension realm as soon as possible. After all, he had many enemies now. Moreover, he had learned from the clairvoyant that Bai Qiu had already reached the immortal ascension realm. That girl had already reached the immortal ascension realm. He couldn't possibly stay in the airborne realm. He couldn't possibly be weaker than Bai Qiu, right? Moreover, that pighead Bai Ziki actually reached the 6th level of the connecting immortal realm. This made him feel helpless and speechless. My luck is too good. I fell into the Lingjing mine. He couldn't help but curse in his heart. Thinking of the Lingjing mine, his eyes suddenly lit up. He really wanted to take the risk and go to the immortal devil ancient vein again. According to the clairvoyant, there was a Lingjing mine in the immortal devil ancient vein. Such a large mine would contain at least tens of thousands of kilograms of Lingjing. However, in the end, he still shook his head. Thinking back to those blue eyes last time, he felt a chill in his heart. What exactly is that? Which old fart is squatting there? He was puzzled. Without even thinking about it, the owner of those blue eyes was definitely in the chaotic realm. Not many people in the world were his match. Forget it. He shook his head. It was better to quietly dig for Lingjing, cultivate, and find ferocious beasts to fight and train. If he was lucky, he might be able to dig out 1 or 2 immortal veins in a few days and directly reach the immortal ascension realm. He walked out of the old forest and soon stepped into another deep mountain. Celestial Venerable Zonglong had traveled through thousands of rivers and tens of thousands of mountains. He had even entered the ancestral dragon vein before. His aura swallowed mountains and rivers, and his might suppressed all directions. Now he couldn't enter the ancestral dragon vein like Celestial Venerable Zonglong, and he didn't even know where the ancestral dragon vein was. However, he could still walk through mountains and rivers. Even if he couldn't walk thousands of mountains and rivers, he could at least walk 10 or 100 mountains and rivers. In the blink of an eye, another half a month passed. Half a month later, he walked out of a mountain, and his aura improved a little. Of course, it was just a little. As for Lingjing, he found a few 100 kilograms of it. I still have a long way to go, he muttered to himself. After stepping out of the mountain, he was still far away from the crowd. Soon he arrived in front of another mountain range. Compared to the previous mountain range, the aura of this mountain range was much stronger. It vaguely looked like an ancient serpent coiled in front of him. Lin Tian thought that there should be a lot of Lingjing here. He paused for a moment, then walked in. Young friend Lin, please wait. At this moment, a voice was heard. Not far away, a middle-aged man appeared. He was wearing a long robe and had a noble aura. He walked slowly towards Lin Tian. Lin Tian's eyes narrowed. This middle-aged man was not simple. He wasn't surprised that the other party recognized him. There were very few people in Shun Continent who didn't know him. What's the matter? He asked, but at the same time, he was secretly on guard. One shouldn't have the heart to harm others, but one should also be wary of others. The middle-aged man in the long robe walked over, with a faint smile on his face. He looked at Lin Tian and said, Young friend Lin, please relax. I have no ill intentions. Even if I did, I wouldn't be a threat to you. The immortal demon beside, you can easily tear me apart. Lin Tian was expressionless. His words were simple. Who are you? What's the matter? The middle-aged man smiled and said, I am Wei Wunshan of the 7 Luminaries Empire. Lin Tian's expression changed slightly. One of the 3 great empires, the 7 Luminaries Empire. He frowned slightly. Why are you looking for me? There were three great empires in the Shenzhou continent. They were the Seven Luminaries Empire, the Great Zhou Empire, and the Purple Clouds Empire. They were like three primordial dragons overlooking the land. Every empire was filled with powerful cultivators. Now, someone from the Seven Luminaries Empire came looking for him. This surprised and shocked him. However, he didn't feel any hostility from this middle-aged man. The middle-aged man's expression became slightly more serious. I would like to ask for your help. Help my clan save someone. Me? Help you save someone? Lin Tian frowned slightly. Everyone knows that there are many powerful cultivators in the three great empires. I'm only in the airborne realm. What can I help you with? Even my companion is only half a step into the great Dao realm. To your Seven Luminaries Empire, it's nothing. He really didn't understand why a colossus like the Seven Luminaries Empire would ask him to help save someone. No. This matter has nothing to do with cultivation for now. The middle-aged man looked at Lin Tian and said, an important person of my clan is trapped in an extraordinary place. There are all kinds of strange terrains there. Even great Dao realm cultivators can't get through. You are the inheritor of the complete dragon burial scripture. With your help, we can definitely save that person of my clan. As he said this, the middle-aged man's expression became even more serious. Lin Tian's eyes focused. He immediately understood. Where is it? He asked. The middle-aged man hesitated and said, the true barren cave. The true barren cave? Lin Tian's eyes focused again. There were three desolate places in Shun continent. The god burial mountain, the immortal demon ancient ranges, and then the true barren cave. They were all dangerous places. It's too dangerous. He shook his head. The god burial mountain was filled with boundless, destructive, baleful aura. One wrong step, and even an immortal connecting realm expert would die instantly. Although this place was terrifying and dangerous, it was nothing compared to all the other dangers in the area. He could walk freely in the god burial mountain because there were very few dangerous situations there. Then there was the immortal demon ancient ranges. It was very dangerous there, especially that pair of blue eyes. Its owner could definitely destroy everything. As for the true barren cave, it must be abnormally terrifying. How could a place like this trap an important person of the Seven Luminaries Empire be simple? The place where the so-called important person was trapped was definitely a terrifying place. Although he had mastered the complete dragon burial scripture, he hadn't cultivated it for a long time. With his current ability, it was still very difficult for him to solve some particularly terrifying situations. If he happened to encounter a situation that he couldn't solve, it wouldn't be worth it if he were to throw himself into it. Of course, the main reason was that he had no reason to help the Seven Luminaries Empire. The Seven Luminaries Empire had nothing to do with him. Why should he take the risk? Sorry. He shook his head and walked toward the mountain range ahead. Young friend, please wait. The middle-aged man hurriedly went forward and said, the true barren cave is indeed very dangerous. However, my clan naturally won't let you work for nothing. When I came out, the Imperial Lord gave me some generous conditions. If you are willing to help, my clan is willing to give you Lingjing that can advance to the immortal realm. Lin Tian paused. Lingjing that can help him advance to the immortal realm? This was indeed what he needed the most now. To reach the immortal realm, I need about 20,000 caddies of Lingjing. Is the Seven Luminaries Empire willing to give me 20,000 caddies of Lingjing? He said seriously. The middle-aged man didn't think much and nodded. Sure, as long as you are willing to help, and help my clan save that person, 20,000 caddies of Lingjing is not a problem. Lin Tian's expression changed slightly. As expected of the three empires, 20,000 caddies of Lingjing were given without any hesitation. However, it could be seen that the trapped person was very important to the Seven Luminaries Empire. Can I ask, who is the person who is trapped? He asked. Chapter 6:25. The middle-aged man didn't finish his words, but Lin Tian could imagine that the powerhouses who went to the rescue should have all died in the true desolate Dao cave. Not a single one of them came out alive. For a dynasty to send powerhouses to the rescue to die one after another, it was enough to show how terrifying the true desolate Tao cave was. It was definitely a dangerous place filled with demons. He frowned slightly, thinking secretly. After a while, his eyes flashed, and he looked at the middle-aged man and said, "Are you sure you will give me 20,000 kilograms of lingjing?" "Of course, as long as we can successfully rescue the old ancestor. 20,000 kilograms of lingjing is not a problem." The middle-aged man nodded seriously and said, "Moreover, in the future, if little friend wants to go to the fourth heaven, my family can provide you with the transmission array at no cost. Of course, the transmission array can only send you to the barbarian land. If you want to go to the fourth heaven, you have to rely on yourself." Lin Tian's heart moved again. The space-time portal to the fourth heaven is located in the barbarian land. If the people of the Shang continent want to go to the fourth heaven, they must first go to the barbarian land. On the Shang continent, only the 3 dynasties have the transmission array to the barbarian land. Generally, cultivators have to pay a certain price to use the transmission array of the 3 dynasties. Now that the middle-aged man said that he can provide him with the transmission array at no cost in the future, this can be regarded as solving another problem in the future. Because he must go to the fourth heaven in the future, he must use the transmission array of the 3 dynasties. In the end, he nodded to the middle-aged man and said, "Okay," giving him 20,000 kilograms of lingjing, providing him with the transmission array for free in the future, and sending him to the barbarian land. These 2 conditions together were worth the risk. Moreover, facing some particularly dangerous situations will also be helpful to his cultivation of the dragon burial scripture. After all, only by putting it into practice can one gain true knowledge. The middle-aged man showed a look of joy. Good. Thank you, little friend. My family will definitely remember the promise and will never go back on it." Immediately, the middle-aged man led the way, and Lin Tian followed behind. The 2 of them flew into the sky and soon left the mountain range. About a day later, the 2 stopped in front of a post house. The post house was very large, adjacent to a continuous mountain range. "Little friend, please wait for 2 days. 3 days later, someone from my family will arrive here and go to the true desolate Tao cave," the middle-aged man said. Lin Tian nodded and looked at the mountain range. He had learned of the 3 great dangerous regions of the Shang continent from the ancient books, so he naturally knew where the true desolate Tao cave was located. It was in the continuous range of mountains. At this moment he stared ahead. The mountain range was continuous, and the aura of immortals interweaved, and he couldn't see any danger. However, it was precisely in this mountain range that the true desolate Tao cave that caused many cultivators of the Shang continent to feel fear upon hearing of it, causing him to be unable to help but sigh. Nature was truly mysterious. On this day, night quickly fell. The entire relay station here was taken over by the 7 Luminaries dynasty. No other cultivators came here, so the entire relay station was very spacious and quiet. At night, Lin Tian sat cross-legged in his room with his eyes slightly closed. He was silently comprehending the dragon burial scripture in his sea of consciousness. Soon, he would be going to the true desolate Tao cave. Before he truly left for the ominous realm, he would take a good look at this ancient scripture. Even if it would not be of much use later on, it would definitely not be a bad thing. Gradually, the sky brightened. Then, the scorching sun in the sky moved and darkness descended once again. Just like that, day and night alternated, and 3 days passed quickly. On this day, rumbling sounds came from afar. Dozens of people riding on strange beasts came over. These strange beasts were all extraordinary, and their blood chi was extremely shocking. Among the dozens of people was a golden-robed old man. In the blink of an eye, he arrived beside the relay station. The middle-aged man who brought Lin Tian here hurriedly went forward and greeted the golden-robed old man in front. Ninth Emperor Elder. Lin Tian followed beside the middle-aged man and raised his head to look at the golden-robed old man. He was slightly surprised. This old man was actually at the great Tao realm, and his essence, chi, and spirit were extremely shocking. This made his heart tremble. He didn't expect that a great Tao realm powerhouse from this lineage would come personally. In front, the golden-robed old man naturally also stared at Lin Tian. He walked forward and said politely, "Young friend Lin Tian, I'll have to trouble you this time." Obviously, the golden-robed old man knew Lin Tian and also knew many things about Lin Tian. At least there were rumors about Lin Tian in the Prosper Continent. What others knew, the golden-robed old man knew all about it. Lin Tian didn't put on airs and returned the greeting to the golden-robed old man. The golden-robed old man smiled and said, "I'm the 9th Grand Elder of the 7 Luminaries Empire. You can just call me 9th Emperor Elder." "All right, 9th Emperor Elder." Lin Tian on Dao. 9th Emperor Elder nodded and smiled faintly. At this moment, not far away, a withered old man walked over with an immortal ascension powerhouse of the 7 Luminaries Empire. Lin Tian raised his head and looked over. Instantly, his eyes turned cold, and a cold light flashed in them. "Zhang Luowen?" Zhang Luowen raised his head. When he saw Lin Tian, his expression also changed. "Little bastard, it's you." Staring at Lin Tian, malice and viciousness appeared in Zhang Luowen's eyes. Some time ago, he was almost killed by Lin Tian in the Golden Fire sect. Now that he saw him again, how could he remain calm? He directly closed in on Lin Tian with shocking killing intent. At this moment, 9th Emperor Elder took a step forward and blocked him. He smiled and said, "Master Jiang, the true desolate cave is full of danger. My clan invited both of you here at the same time. Both of you have extremely high attainments in the Tao of mountains and rivers. This time, we will have to rely on both of you to rescue our ancestor. Master Jiang, please give me face and let go of our grudges for the time being." Zhang Luowen was known as the dragon-seeking grandmaster of the Shang continent, while Lin Tian had mastered the complete dragon burial scripture. Moreover, he had already become famous in the Shang continent with this ancient scripture. Back then, at the God Burial Mountain, he had even killed 2 great Tao powerhouses. His attainments in the Tao of heaven and earth were naturally not shallow. Therefore, the 7 Luminaries Empire invited both of them here. After all, the true desolate cave was really very dangerous. The person trapped inside was their ancestor. To the 7 Luminaries Empire, it was of great significance. How could the 7 Luminaries Empire dare to be careless when it concerned the life of their ancestor? Zhang Luowen looked at 9th Emperor Elder and clearly recognized him. He said, "9th Emperor Elder, you don't have to be like this. Although this little bastard has obtained the complete dragon burial scripture, he has only just begun to cultivate it. There is no need for his help. I alone am enough for this trip to the true desolate cave." Staring at Lin Tian, Zhang Luowen's eyes were still filled with sinister, killing intent. Lin Tian was naturally very unhappy with such a gaze. After a pause, he sneered, "Old thing, the 12 immortal meridians of the Golden Fire Tao Gate exploded together, but you did not die. At that time, you escaped quite quickly." He enunciated the word escaped particularly loudly. Coupled with his sneer, the dozens of 7 Luminaries Empire elites who came with 9th Emperor Elder looked at each other in dismay. The entire Shin continent knew about the destruction of the Golden Fire Tao Gate some time ago. These people were naturally no exception. At this moment, their expressions were a little strange. Some people subconsciously looked at Zhang Luowen. Zhang Luowen's face was completely gloomy. He took a step towards Lin Tian. "Little bastard, you are courting death." Being stared at by some people from the 7 Luminaries Empire, he only felt his cheeks burning. Naturally, his anger was suppressed by Lin Tian. "You want to kill me with your current strength? Can you kill me?" Lin Tianling laughed. On his shoulder, the black dragon roared. Its majestic, ferocious aura spread. Its originally shrunken demonic body expanded to dozens of feet in the blink of an eye. It looked down at Zhang Luowen coldly. This time, there was no fear at all. One must know that a month ago, when the 12 immortal meridians of the Golden Fire Tao Gate exploded, although it did not directly kill Zhang Luowen, It caused him to suffer extremely serious injuries. Although a month had passed, he did not seem to have recovered. His combat strength was estimated to be only about 80% of his peak. Under such circumstances, the half-step Great Dao-level Black Dragon was enough to block the other party. There was no need to worry at all. For a moment, the two tyrannical forces collided. The void was shaken until it creaked. Neither was weaker than the other. "Both of you, please stop." A voice sounded. Ninth Emperor Elder stepped between the two. A trace of Dao aura spread out slightly, directly separating the two forces. "I know that the two of you have a grudge. However, this time, the Seven Luminaries Empire invited the two of you here. I hope that the two of you can give the Seven Luminaries Empire some face. In the future, the Seven Luminaries Empire will reward the two of you greatly. As for how the two of you want to settle the grudge after this, you can do it in private. The Seven Luminaries Empire will definitely not get involved." The Black Dragon's demonic power was repelled. A faint light flashed in its demonic eyes and landed on Ninth Emperor Elder. Lin Tianling looked at Ninth Emperor Elder and did not say anything. He only sneered and glanced at Zhang Luowen opposite him. Zhang Luowen stared at Lin Tianling. A sinister light flashed in his eyes. However, in the end, he forcibly suppressed the murderous intent in his heart and stopped attacking. He was the strongest dragon cultivator of the Xuanlong family and was respectfully called the Grandmaster Xuanlong in the cultivation world of the Shun continent. However, the ninth Grand Elder of the Seven Luminaries Empire had spoken twice in a row, saying that he hoped to give face. How could he continue to cause trouble? The other party was one of the three great empires. If he really did not give face to the other party and angered the other party, it would definitely not end well. Seeing that the two of them had stopped attacking, Ninth Emperor Elder smiled and said, "Thank you, both of you." On this day, a group of people entered the continuous mountain range in front of them. After walking for a while, they came to the largest dark mountain. In the center of this dark mountain was a huge cave. The cave was about 30 feet tall and 20 feet wide. It was pitch black inside. There was some cold air coming out, but it only intertwined at the entrance of the cave. Lin Tianling stared at this pitch-black cave. His eyes narrowed slightly. This was where the true Wilderness Dao Cave was located. The Seven Luminaries Empire had come here. This time, they were led by Ninth Emperor Elder, who was in the initial stage of the Great Dao realm. There were also 30 other Immortal Ascension realm experts. At this moment, these 30 people were staring ahead. Their expressions were solemn, and they were clearly on guard. None of them were careless. This was because this was the true Wilderness Dao Cave, one of the three most ominous places in the Shun continent. Countless experts had died here. Grandmaster Jiang, young friend Lin. After entering the true Wilderness Dao Cave, everything will depend on the two of you, Ninth Emperor Elder said. Zhang Luowen swept a sinister glance at Lin Tianyi and said to Ninth Emperor Elder, "Don't worry, Ninth Emperor Elder." Lin Tianling glanced at Zhang Luowen. He could naturally see the sinister look in Zhang Luowen's eyes. However, he only smiled coldly and ignored him. Chapter 626. Genius 1 Second Remember, providing you with wonderful novels to read. The cave was pitch black, and one could feel a faint chill. The light of the dragon patterns in Lin Tian's eyes faintly intertwined as he looked deeper into the cave. In the next moment, his eyes focused. A strange light suddenly appeared in the pitch-black cave, flashing in their direction. "Something's coming out," he said. Almost as soon as his words fell, the sound of wings flapping could be heard from the pitch-black cave. Then, a strange bird rushed out. Its face was like a human face, but it looked somewhat ferocious. Its pair of wings seemed to be forged from black iron. The strange bird screamed, its sharp claws like swords, and pounced towards the group. The Ninth Emperor Elder snorted coldly, raised his hand, and slapped the strange bird, smashing it into pieces. After the strange bird was smashed into pieces, nothing else rushed out of the cave. The Ninth Emperor Elder looked at Lin Tian, a faint light flashing in his eyes. Just now, Lin Tian was the first to discover that something had rushed out of the cave. It was indeed a little unusual. "The two of you, let's go," the ninth Emperor Elder said to Lin Tian and Zhang Luo and walked into the cave first. Zhang Luo coldly glanced at Lin Tianyi and followed behind the ninth Emperor Elder into the cave ahead. Lin Tian walked forward, but looked back. In his field of vision, the strange bird's body was torn into pieces, and its bright red blood was scattered on the ground. It was very dazzling. A faint light flashed in his eyes. He had read about this kind of creature in the dragon burial scripture. It was called the human-faced vulture. Wherever it appeared, it would definitely be a peerless, ominous place in a land of death. "What's wrong, little friend Lin?" The ninth Emperor Elder saw Lin Tian's abnormal expression and asked. Before Lin Tian could speak, Zhang Luo said ambiguously, "You must have been scared silly by that strange bird." Lin Tian glanced at Zhang Luo and sneered in his heart, but he was too lazy to respond. He said to the ninth Emperor Elder, "It's nothing." He thought for a moment. The true desolate Dao Cave was an ominous place. It was not strange that there was a human-faced vulture. "That's good." An old Taoist of the ninth level. This cave was pitch black, as if it had been artificially excavated. It was very strange, and the air was ice-cold and deathly still. As the group of people walked, clattering sounds could be heard from both sides from time to time. Not long after, they were attacked by some strange creatures. However, none of the people who came here were weak. All of them had tyrannical combat strength. Ordinary strange creatures were naturally no threat. Almost all of them were completely killed the moment they appeared. Just like that, 2 hours quickly passed. 2 hours later, the group of people completely walked out of this dark cave. What they saw before them was actually a place like a small forest. There were many rare plants on the ground, and there were many green trees that were around 10 feet tall. From the looks of it, this place was filled with peace and harmony. However, not a single person that came here was careless, because this was the true desolate Dao Cave, a dangerous area. "Be careful, old Taoist Nine Emperor." Lin Tian's eyes flickered with a faint light. His steps were slow, and the light of the dragon patterns in his eyes flickered as he casually glanced around. Not long after, the group of people walked along the small forest for about 1,000 feet. At this moment, the smell of blood floated in the air. In front of them, a few corpses had fallen to the ground. They had clearly been dead for a long time, but the blood had not coagulated. Their internal organs were scattered everywhere, and it was a ghastly sight. "It's the powerhouses of our clan," someone among the dozens of immortal experts said in a deep voice. From the looks of it, it wasn't man-made, nor was it killed by demons. Instead, it seemed like it suddenly exploded. For a moment, dozens of people frowned. One of them took out a bag. Inside was a wild rabbit that had been prepared long ago. He threw it forward. Pooh! Nothing appeared. The wild rabbit directly exploded into pieces. Such a scene immediately caused the crowd to be moved again. It was very strange. Lin Tianwei narrowed his eyes. The light of the dragon patterns flickered as he scanned his surroundings, looking at the dense green trees around him. There were many green trees in this place. He scanned his surroundings, and his gaze landed on a few of them. A faint light flickered in his eyes. At a single glance, these few green trees were no different from the other green trees. Although they were of different sizes, they were of the same species. However, when they were grouped together, it was a little strange. When they were grouped together, they vaguely formed a dangerous situation. If a living creature entered by mistake, it would be very easy for them to be killed by a special power. Even immortal experts would find it difficult to escape. This caused his heart to tremble slightly. He thought to himself that the true, desolate Dao Cave was not ordinary. They had just entered, and there was already such a dangerous situation. At this moment, the ninth Emperor Elder spoke. He looked at Lin Tian and Zhang Luo and said, "Grandmaster Zhang, young friend Lin, have you seen anything?" From the scene of the wild rabbit exploding for no reason just now, the ninth Emperor Elder knew that there might be some kind of strange and dangerous terrain in this place. He did not understand this kind of terrain, so he could only ask Lin Tian and Zhang Luo. "Ninth Emperor Elder, there's no rush for now. I'll investigate first, Zhang Luo and said. Lin Tian could have destroyed the dangerous situation in front of them, but when he heard Zhang Luo and's words, he did not say anything. He also wanted to see how Zhang Luo and's attainments in the Tao of Dragon Tao were. Thank you, Grandmaster Jiang. The ninth Emperor Elder nodded. At the same time, the other people in this dynasty also looked at the ninth Emperor Elder, but did not act rashly. Zhang Luo and squatted down, and a jade ruler suddenly appeared in his hand. It was engraved with densely packed dragon talismans. Holding the jade ruler, Zhang Luo and moved rhythmically. His steps were very slow, and at the same time, he shook the jade ruler from time to time, causing dragon talismans to float out. They were like little fairies flying in the air, circling around him and blooming with light. In the blink of an eye, 15 minutes passed. At this time, the dragon talismans floating around Zhang Luo and all moved. They suddenly rushed out and landed on the few green trees. It's done! A light flashed in Zhang Luo and's eyes as he spoke. Immediately, the dozens of people were shocked. Someone asked, Grandmaster Jiang, is it really done? Zhang Luo smiled confidently. He did not speak and directly walked forward. Seeing Zhang Luo and's actions, the dozens of people's expressions froze. Zhang Luo wanted to use himself to verify it for them. Zhang Luo walked to the front, stepped over the mutilated corpses, and walked several dozen feet in one breath. He was safe and sound. Immediately, the dozens of people's faces lit up with joy. This place is full of green trees. They look the same, but a few of them are connected to the earth veins to form a kind of terrifying domain. This kind of domain will sometimes interweave with a formless and terrifying killing intent. If living beings rashly enter it, they will be directly killed by the formless killing intent. Even immortal realm cultivators will not be lucky enough to escape. It is very terrifying, Zhang Luo said. This old one has already used the dragon talisman to seal those few peculiar green trees and shattered the ominous domain of this place. There shouldn't be any problems now. That formless killing intent won't appear again. We can safely pass through. Hearing this, the eyes of the crowd lit up. As expected of a Grandmaster Dragon seeking Grandmaster, the ninth Emperor Elder could not help but smile. Zhang Luo nodded at the ninth Emperor Elder, then looked at Lin Tian and said in a neutral tone, I wonder what this brat who has mastered the complete dragon burial scripture has to say. Looking at Lin Tian, Zhang Luo's eyes were full of provocation and coldness. Looking at this person, Lin Tian smiled coldly. You've already said your piece. What else do you want me to say? His words were slightly mocking. Zhang Luo was indeed not simple to be able to break through the dangerous domain of this place. In the Tao of Dragon techniques, his attainment was indeed not bad. He believed that no one else in the Zhang family could break through this place. However, this level of skill made Zhang Luo so proud. It really made him speechless. If it were him, he would only need to stomp his foot to break through this place. This Zhang Luo spent 7 or 8 minutes to break through the domain of this place, but he actually acted like he was number one in the world. He was too lazy to say anything to him. You want to slack off? Zhang Luo snorted coldly and shouted sternly. The ninth Emperor Elder did not call you here to make up the numbers. If you're here to make up the numbers, then you're looking for chi. Suddenly, a soft sound was heard. In front of them, one of the dragon talismans that covered the few green trees suddenly shattered and dissipated in the form of starlight. Then, wisps of green light emerged from the shattered dragon talisman. Zhang Luo looked back, and his expression changed instantly. Oh no, the atmosphere of the ley lines is stronger than I expected. The sealing power of the dragon talismans covering the few green trees is not enough. Chi, chi, chi. The green light mist emerged. Instantly, the dragon talismans on the few green trees trembled and shattered one after another. In the blink of an eye, they were completely shattered, causing the few green trees to be exposed once again. Moreover, at this time, the few green trees were no longer stable. They trembled and then exploded with bangs, turning into waves of green light that surged violently. Boom! The small forest suddenly trembled violently. As the green waves surged, the earth trembled. More green light rushed out from the ground, fusing with the green light mist formed by the exploding green trees. It rumbled and pressed down on the group. In an instant, a terrifying wave spread out, causing some of the seven luminaries' empire's pinnacle powerhouses to change their expressions. They felt a great threat. Many people's expressions changed. They each used their magical powers and prepared to resist. Don't move. This is ley line murderous aura. Using ordinary means to resist it will only make it more terrifying, Lin Tiantan said calmly. His right foot stepped on the ground and shook. Instantly, a large number of dragon talismans spread out. They were like chains, swords of light, and more like a huge divine net. In the blink of an eye, they completely enveloped the green light mist that was surging over. The green light mist rumbled and attacked like a ferocious beast. However, it was blocked and could not charge over. Lin Tian's right leg shook again, and another circle of dragon talismans flashed. The green light mist that was surging over immediately trembled and was suppressed by the dragon talismans on the periphery. It was as if it was thrown into a cage and was directly pressed into the ground, disappearing from everyone's sight. In the blink of an eye, the place became calm. The seven luminaries' empire's powerhouses were surprised. They looked at Lin Tian in shock. Just now, when the terrifying green light mist surged over, even some of the Ascension immortal powerhouses felt threatened. However, Lin Tian only stomped his foot twice to flatten everything. Such means were truly shocking. Even the ninth Emperor Elder of the Great Virtue Realm was surprised. At this time, he stared at Lin Tian, and wisps of light intertwined in his eyes. Among the group of people here, only Jiang Wan's expression was not good. He stared at Lin Tian, and his gaze became even more sinister. Lin Tian could naturally feel such gazes. He casually turned his head and looked over. With a faint mocking expression, he said, "Who's here to make up the numbers? P.S. Sorry, my eyes are really hurting. At this time, I'm crying. I forced myself to finish this chapter, but I can't hold it in anymore. Today is the 4th chapter. Tomorrow is supposed to be 2 chapters. Then, I'll update 3 chapters to make up for today's 5th chapter. Tomorrow's 1st chapter will be around noon. Sorry again." Chapter 6:27. Lin Tian's voice was very calm. However, this caused Zhang Luo's expression to become even uglier. His face was ashen. He wanted to do something, but could not find a suitable reason. All he could do was clench his hands tightly as he stared at Lin Tian with sinister eyes. Lin Tian sneered and turned his head away, not even bothering to look at the other party. Such an action undoubtedly made Jiang Wan's face even uglier. He stared at Lin Tian, killing intent spreading out from his body. "Both of you are almighty. Both of you are very interesting, very interesting." The ninth Emperor Elder walked out with a smile, smoothing things over. In this way, Jiang Wan's killing intent was restrained by a lot. He still had to give face to the ninth Emperor Elder. Ninth Emperor Elder is too polite. Zhang Luo and smiled as he spoke to the ninth Emperor Elder. However, he would occasionally glare at Lin Tian coldly. Lin Tian glanced at Zhang Luan with a mocking smile. Then he no longer cared. His gaze passed through the small forest and looked deeper. Looking from afar, there was fog lingering in the distance. Even though his divine sense was astonishing, comparable to an immortal reaching realm expert, and he had the strange phenomenon in his sea of consciousness, he couldn't see very far. It was very blurry. "The two of you, let's continue to go deeper. My clan's ancestor is trapped in the deepest part of the true, desolate Dao Cave," the ninth Emperor Elder said. The ferocious aura of this small forest had been completely destroyed by Lin Tian. All the earth vein killing lights were suppressed underground by Lin Tian's dragon patterns, making it difficult for them to rush out. This allowed the group to pass through safely and quickly walk out of the small forest. Walking out of the small forest, there was a barren land in front of them. Wisps of sand and dust were blown by the wind, looking very desolate. Someone was surprised. It was a green forest just now, but now it was a red land like a desert. Lin Tian narrowed her eyes. The ancient book said that the true desolate Tao cave was the most changeable place. It seemed that it was true. All right, let's continue. The ninth emperor opened his mouth and looked at Jiang Luo and Lin Tian. It is said that the deeper we go into the true desolate Tao cave, the more dangerous the terrain becomes. We will have to rely on Grandmaster Jiang and little friend Lin in the future. I will have to trouble the two of you. Jiang Luo and said politely, Elder Ninth Emperor is too polite. It is my honor to be able to help the Seven Luminaries Empire. It will not be troublesome. Lin Tian didn't say anything. He just glanced ahead indifferently. The group of people continued on their way, walking forward. Soon, they were extremely far away. In the next 2 hours, the group of people had traversed a distance of several dozen miles. They had indeed encountered a few more terrifying situations, all of which were very dangerous. They were no less dangerous than the situation in the small forest. During this process, Jiang Luo might have been inspired by Lin Tian when they were in the little forest. Every time they encountered a dangerous situation, he would be the first to step forward. He would take out his jade ruler, and the dragon talisman would jump out and solve one dangerous situation after another. This caused everyone to be more scared than hurt every time. As expected of the dragon-seeking Grandmaster, Master Zhang's godly power, respect. Many of the Seven Luminaries Empires, dozens of immortal-reaching realm cultivators spoke up. Elder Ninth Emperor was even more polite to Jiang Luo. Jiang Luo nodded at Elder Ninth Emperor. Then he glanced at Lin Tian at the side with a smug expression on his face. Lin Tian tilted his head and glanced over. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly, and he sneered. Then he looked ahead again. Jiang Luo's expression suddenly froze, and a trace of viciousness appeared. Lin Tian, how dare you look down on me? After leaving the small forest, the ground was always red. Occasionally, a few cracks could be seen on the ground. There were even some strange worms wriggling out, giving people a creepy feeling. The group stepped on this red ground. Soon, they walked very far away. Gradually, the ground was no longer red. It became black and damp. As they continued to move forward, withered grasses grew on the ground. They were all blood-red in color and looked very strange. Suddenly, there was a violent howl, and the sound of wings flapping sounded. In the distance, strange birds rushed toward the group of people. Lin Tian's expression froze. These were human-faced vultures. Moreover, there were at least hundreds of them. This made his heart skip a beat. According to the records in the dragon burial scripture, the human-faced vulture's location was always a land of death. The more human-faced vultures there were, the more terrifying the land of death was. There were so many human-faced vultures here. He suddenly felt a chill down his spine. These are those monsters that rushed out of the cave earlier. Kill them all, someone said. Instantly, the dozens of Seven Luminaries Empires, immortal-reaching realm cultivators moved. Magical powers and killing lights rushed into the sky. The human-faced vultures looked very strange and chilling. However, they were not very strong. In the blink of an eye, they were all killed. For a moment, the ground was full of the human-faced vultures' corpses. Blood dyed the ground red. Lin Tian stared at the human-faced vultures' corpses on the ground. He frowned deeply and looked ahead. Young friend Lin, what's wrong? Elder Ninth Emperor asked. Nothing. Lin Tian shook his head, but he looked around seriously. Jiang Luo sneered. Pretentious. Lin Tian ignored him. The group walked forward again. In the blink of an eye, they had traveled about 3,000 feet. At this time, a rotten smell suddenly floated in the air. In front of them, the corpses were piled up like a wall. It was as if someone deliberately did it. The ground seemed to be stained by blood. It was dark red and looked very wet. Occasionally, one could even see small puddles. The water was as red as blood. Just one look was enough to make one's scalp numb. Looking ahead, A group of human-faced vultures stood on the wall like corpses. Each of them had a ferocious face. It was strange and terrifying. Lin Tian's heart suddenly beat wildly. He felt a chill run down his spine. It was as if a chill was spreading from the soles of his feet to his head. This was a sense of danger that rushed up from the depths of his soul. He did not dare to be careless. The dragon patterns on the soles of his feet flickered, and he quickly sank into the ground. He communicated with the ley lines and measured the land. A large group of human-faced vultures were here. Together with the records of these monsters in the dragon burial scripture and the dense corpses here, he felt that this place was very evil. Ugh! The human-faced vultures screeched like ghosts. They pounced on the group as if they had seen delicious prey. Low-level ants dare to provoke us again and again. The dragon talisman beside Jiang Luo and jumped. The dragon patterns on the soles of Lin Tian's feet flickered. At this time, he finally realized what this place was. This place was deeply recorded in the dragon burial scripture. For a moment, he really felt his scalp go numb. Seeing the dragon talisman jumping beside Jiang Luo and ready to attack the human-faced vultures, he hurriedly shouted, "Stop! Don't attack them!" Jiang Luo snorted. "Who do you think you are? Are you qualified to teach me? You think I won't attack just because you said so?" As he spoke, the dragon talisman outside his body jumped even more violently. It turned into shooting stars and charged toward the human-faced vultures. "Old bastard! I told you not to attack." Lin Tian was shocked and angry. He raised his hand and swept out a large thunder flame sword light to block Jiang Luo and's dragon talisman. However, he was still a step too late. For a moment, there were continuous popping sounds. A large number of human-faced vultures were shattered. Blood fell like a small rain, splashing on the ground and also splashing on the wall-like pile of corpses. Seeing this scene, Lin Tian's eyelids twitched. He cursed loudly, "Mother asterisk cur." Almost at the instant he cursed, the air here suddenly became cold. An extreme chill appeared inexplicably, causing everyone to tremble. Then, there were cracking sounds. In front of everyone's shocked eyes, the corpses in front of them twisted and stood up. Their eyes were blood red. At the same time, rotten corpses crawled out from the ground. They were densely packed with a rotten stench. What's going on? They ain't soldiers? No. Those corpses were lying quietly just now. They can't suddenly turn into soldiers now. And those rotten corpses crawling out from the ground, they don't look like soldiers either. They're coming. Many people's expressions changed. Many people attacked together. Blade lights and sword shadows swept forward, attacking the corpses. There were popping sounds. In the blink of an eye, a large number of corpses were shattered and cut into pieces. Many people were stunned. They could feel the icy chill now, but these corpses were so weak. However, in the next moment, many people's expressions changed. Someone pointed forward. That's... On the ground, the corpses that had been cut into pieces suddenly connected themselves. Even some of the corpses that had been cut into blood mist and meat paste were intertwined with blood mist and meat paste, turning into bloody corpses. Moreover, the aura they emitted became even more terrifying. The crowd attacked crazily again, cutting these bloody corpses into pieces. However, in the blink of an eye, these bloody corpses reassembled again, and the aura they emitted became even more terrifying. For a moment, the crowd felt their scalps go numb, and a chill ran down their spines. Even the 9th Emperor Elder, who was in the Great Virtue Realm, changed his expression at this moment. Although his battle prowess was strong, the few times he attacked, he was the same as the others. Even his Tao regulations were useless, and he couldn't kill these corpses at all. Every time they were destroyed, they would be reborn again, and every time they were reborn, their aura would become several times more terrifying. F***CK. Lin Tian cursed in a low voice. The dragon patterns on the soles of his feet flickered, and at the same time, he quickly scanned the surroundings. The 9th Emperor Elder looked at Lin Tian. "Young friend, what's going on?" Just now, Lin Tian had shouted loudly for Jiang Luan to stop, and even slashed out sword light to stop Jiang Luan from attacking, telling him not to attack the human-face vulture. After that, Jiang Luan killed the human-face vulture, and the corpses in this place started to move. The ninth Emperor Elder naturally guessed that Lin Tian had seen something. In this place, the others also turned to look at Lin Tian while blocking the strange corpses that were attacking them. Lin Tiandao said, "This is the Undying Realm, and these corpses have been piled up in this place for a long time. In itself, there isn't much of a problem. However, blood can't be seen in this place. Once blood is seen, the Undying Realm will open. Now an area of several thousand feet has been completely covered by the Undying Realm, and we're all trapped here. In here, the corpses that were originally piled up here have now changed, and they can be called ghost corpses. These ghost corpses, just like the name of this place, can't die. That's because they're already dead. No matter how they're destroyed, they'll reassemble, and every time they reassemble, they'll become stronger and more terrifying." Chapter 6:28. Everyone felt a chill run down their spines when they heard Lin Tian's words. "You're saying that these ghosts can't be killed no matter what, and they'll become even more terrifying?" Someone asked in a trembling voice. "They can't be killed. Even enlightened realm cultivators won't be able to kill them." Lin Tian looked at Jiang Luan with an icy gaze. "I told you from the beginning that you shouldn't do anything. You." Jiang Luan was furious. Lin Tian had insulted him in front of everyone. However, he couldn't do anything at this time. The scene in front of him was indeed caused by him. He could only stare ferociously at Lin Tian. The murderous intent in his chest was as vast as the sea. He said darkly, "If we can't kill them, we can retreat, dodge, and charge through. What's the big deal?" "Retreat? Dodge, and charge through?" Lin Tianling laughed. "Why don't you retreat and try to charge out?" "We can't retreat. The road behind us has disappeared." Suddenly, someone said in a trembling voice. Behind them, a thick blood mist intertwined. The crowd looked over and saw that the road they came from had completely disappeared. They couldn't retreat at all. At the same time, blood mist floated up from other places around them. It formed a large circle and surrounded the group of people. Someone took out a prepared hair from a cloth bag and threw it forward. When it came into contact with the blood mist, it let out a shattering sound and melted into blood water. Then, it merged with the blood mist that was already intertwined. Instantly, many people felt a chill run down their spines. Jiang Luan's expression also changed slightly. It seemed that the blood mist could corrode everything. "Didn't you want to retreat or charge out? Go ahead and try." Lin Tianling laughed. Jiang Luan's face turned ashen and became even more unsightly. "All right, both of you stop arguing. It's more important to discuss how to get out now." The ninth Emperor Elder came out to mediate and looked at Lin Tiandao. "Little friend Lin, what do you think? Is there any way to solve this?" With regards to the sudden appearance of the blood fog, even someone as powerful as him felt threatened. He could only place his hopes on Lin Tian. Since Lin Tian could see the various dangers of this place and analyze some of them, perhaps she could find a way to get out of here. For a moment, everyone else also looked at Lin Tian. "I don't know. I don't have the confidence to solve it." Lin Tiandao. Even in the numerous records of the Dragon Burial Scripture, the Undying region was one of the extremely terrifying danger zones, and even Wuzhen experts might be exhausted to death upon entering it. After saying so much, in the end, you still don't have the confidence to solve it. Ridiculous. Zhang Luo and snorted. Lin Tian tilted his head and glared at him. "Old thing, you're courting death." In the beginning, it was Zhang Luo and who did not listen to his advice. As a result, the originally dead, silent, undying domain was opened. Even if he had the complete Dragon Burial Scripture, he still felt the threat of death when faced with such a dangerous situation. He was furious. At this time, Zhang Luo still dared to speak like this. He really wanted to kill this person, and whip his corpse. "Little bastard, this old man has tolerated you for a long time," Jiang Luoan roared. "You speak as if this old man has not tolerated you." Lin Tian's eyes shone with a cold light. On his shoulder, the black dragon roared directly, and a violent, murderous aura surged. A black light directly attacked Jiang Luoan. Jiang Luoan did not expect Lin Tian to be so domineering as to make the black dragon attack. He hurriedly blocked and was directly knocked back several feet. This made him furious. He took a step forward, and in an instant, dragon talismans filled the sky. Boom! Suddenly, the ground shook and rumbled. At the periphery, the blood fog suddenly became thicker, and even the space above their heads was sealed. Moreover, it was slowly closing in toward the center. At the same time, those ghost corpses became even more violent. Whether it was their speed or their aura, they became even more terrifying. They charged toward the crowd without fear of death, causing the dozens of immortal channeling cultivators to feel the pressure increase greatly. The blood fog is approaching. When it really gets close, won't we be? Some people's hearts palpitated. Jiang Luoan stopped and stared at the blood fog. His expression also changed, and the dragon talismans around his body all dimmed. Lin Tian was also moved, and he no longer attacked Jiang Luoan. At this time, this undying region became even more terrifying. "Young friend, this is..." Even the 9th Imperial Elder, who was in the Great Tao Realm, changed his expression. He was in the Great Tao Realm, and his battle prowess was unparalleled. However, now that he was in such a terrifying situation, even though he had powerful battle prowess, he could not do anything. He was completely powerless. Lin Tian cursed. Once the dormant, undying domain is awakened, the situation will become more and more ferocious as time passes. The ghost corpses inside will also become more and more terrifying until all living beings that enter are annihilated. Hearing his words, everyone trembled. "Are you really not confident that you can break it?" the 9th Imperial Elder asked anxiously. Lin Tian's eyes flashed with the light of the dragon patterns. He did not have time to think and said, "Let everyone stay inside. As for those ghost corpses and rotten corpses that crawl out of the ground, just block them. Don't break them. Also, don't touch them. These things are very evil. As long as they touch you, there's a 100% chance that you'll immediately turn into a zombie. Touch them, and they'll turn into zombies. We're in the immortal channeling realm. How can we be by just touching them?" Many people's hearts palpitated. Hearing Lin Tian's words and looking at the ghost corpses around them, these people were both frightened and doubtful. "Immortal channeling realm?" Lin Tian snorted. "In the face of heaven and earth, Nirvana realm people are just dust." Instantly, many people were speechless. They really could not find any words to refute. Thinking about it, in the face of heaven and earth, even peerless existences in the chaotic realm could only walk to the end of their lives. The immortal channeling realm was really nothing. Stop talking nonsense and don't disturb young friend Lin. Use your mind to block these ghost corpses. Don't let them touch you," the 9th Imperial Elder said in a deep voice. Dozens of people nodded and used their divine abilities to block the ghost corpses, preventing them from getting close. Lin Tian asked the black dragon on his shoulder to protect him. He squatted down and placed his right hand on the ground. Immediately, strands of dragon patterns flowed out from his palm. Then he began to carve the dragon technique on the ground. At the same time, dragon patterns also floated out from the soles of his feet. They quickly sank into the ground and spread out in all directions. He took out the dragon patterns and carved the dragon-breaking seal on the ground and the dragon-opening seal on the ground. These were special methods recorded in the dragon burial scripture to break the general trend of a dangerous situation. These 2 seals were very complicated. He had only started to practice in the relay station and had not mastered them. At this moment, it was quite laborious to carve them. Soon, cold sweat dripped down his forehead. "For the 20,000 kilograms of Ling Jing, don't lose your life," he cursed in his heart. He really did not expect that the true, desolate Dao Cave would have such a terrifying terrain like the Undying Realm. He wanted to kill that old thing Jiang Luan immediately. If it were not for Jiang Luan, the Undying Realm would not have opened. Buzz! Faint dragon patterns flickered, and light interweaved and surged out continuously. He continuously carved the dragon-breaking seal and dragon-opening seal, completely ignoring his surroundings. Ah! Suddenly, a scream rang out. In the Undying Realm, the ghost corpses became more and more terrifying. Some people were scratched by the ghost corpses and fell to the ground, howling in pain. This was a 5th-level immortal. His left arm was scratched, and it instantly turned pitch black. In the blink of an eye, it spread to his entire body. The entire process only lasted for about 3 breaths. After 3 breaths, this person stood up from the ground again. His pupils had turned blood red, and there was fishy water flowing out of his mouth. He even grew pitch-black fangs. Seeing this scene, the others' expressions changed. The corpse had transformed. It really only touched it, and such a demonic scene caused the hearts of all the cultivators to turn cold. Even the 9th Emperor could not help but be shocked. Lin Tian tilted his head and reminded in a deep voice, "Don't let it touch you, and don't break it. Just push it back." Okay. Many people nodded. At this time, everyone had placed their hopes on Lin Tian. How could they dare to doubt Lin Tian? Lin Tian's forehead was sweating. Dragon patterns spread out from his palms and feet as he continuously carved the dragon-breaking seal and dragon-opening seal. Time flew by quickly. 15 minutes later, the air in the Undying Realm became even colder, and the blood fog outside was closer to the group. Ah! Another scream rang out. The group of ghost corpses became even more terrifying. Another person suffered. He was only scratched, but in the blink of an eye, he completely lost his humanity and became a newborn ghost corpse that only knew how to kill. Damn it! Someone cursed. Divine light shot into the sky and spread in all directions. As time passed, more and more people suffered. Among the dozens of Immortal Realm cultivators, 9 of them had already become members of the zombie horde. It was also at this moment that Lin Tian stood up. "Everyone, get ready to charge out," he said in a low voice. After saying that, he did not wait. His hands quickly formed a seal. Instantly, the dragon-breaking seal that he carved on the ground shone brightly, enveloping the entire Undying Realm. At the same time, a similar light rushed up from the depths of the ground. The dragon-opening seal trembled, cooperating with the dragon-breaking seal to suppress the Undying Realm from above and below. In an instant, powerful hurricanes swept up and cracks appeared on the ground. The ghost corpses exploded one after another under this aura, and blood splattered in the void. Then, the dragon-breaking light and dragon-opening light merged into a huge arrow and shot out in a strange light, cutting a small gap in the blood fog barrier in front of them. "Let's go," he shouted in a low voice. Without waiting, he was the first to rush forward and rush toward the gap. He had used the dragon-breaking seal and dragon-opening seal to barely interfere with the field of the Undying Realm and open a way out. Whoosh! 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 The sound of air being torn apart rang out. No one stopped. The group of people followed behind Lin Tian and rushed forward quickly. These people were all powerhouses. Even though the gap that Lin Tian opened only lasted for 5 breaths, everyone rushed out. Of course, the 9 people who had turned into ghost corpses could not come out again. They were already dead. These people rushed forward. None of them stopped. They followed Lin Tian and rushed out for a long distance before stopping. At this time, everyone was gasping for breath, especially Lin Tian. He had exhausted a lot of his essence, qi, and spirit to break the Undying Realm. There's a ruined hall in front. Let's go in and rest for a while. Someone pointed forward. Wisps of gray mist intertwined in the air. Not far ahead, a ruined hall sat on the ground. A sense of vicissitudes of time assaulted their faces. Chapter 629. Wisps of mist floated in the air, and the dilapidated hall sat in the middle. Its aura was ancient, and it gave off an ancient and desolate feeling. Everyone had just survived the undying domain, and almost all of them were exhausted, especially Lin Tian. He had used up a lot of his qi and blood. Now that they found such a hall, they naturally wanted to recover. Moreover, the dilapidated hall was located in the middle of their path to the depths of the true desolate Dao cave. Even if they did not want to go in, they had to go through it. Not long after, the group approached the dilapidated hall. The dilapidated hall was very big, like a mountain in front of them. Its aura was desolate, like a huge, ferocious beast. It was built with special scales. Judging from its size, its original aura should have been very grand and majestic. However, it was now shattered, and there were cracks everywhere. It was no longer the same as before. Let's go in. Old Taoist Juhuan. The door of the dilapidated hall was covered with sand and cobwebs. When it was pushed open, it was pitch black inside, and nothing could be seen. The group walked in and scanned the place with their divine perception. They had no choice but to enter this place, but they could not be careless. Soon, the people who scanned with their divine perception all shook their heads. The hall was empty, and they could not feel anything. Everyone adjust your breathing. We'll continue on our way. Old Taoist Juhuan. Immediately, the group of cultivators found a place and sat down cross-legged. Lin Tian had the black flood dragon protecting him, so he did not care. He casually sat down beside a stone pillar in the hall and channeled the four extreme scripture. Buzz! Faint silver light intertwined and floated on the surface of his body. He took out a small piece of Ling Jing and held it in his hand. He absorbed the spiritual energy within it and quickly replenished his exhausted essence, energy, and spirit. Soon, his pale face became rosy again. Ling Jing is really convenient, he thought to himself. Cultivators needed to absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to recover their true essence and divine power. However, in some places with thin spiritual energy, it was very troublesome to recover their true essence and divine power. Even in places with normal or slightly dense spiritual energy, it was more time-consuming to absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to recover their true essence and divine power. At this time, if he had Ling Jing with him, it would naturally be of great use. The spiritual energy contained in Ling Jing was very abundant and pure, even more so than spirit veins. By holding it in his hand or by his side, it could quickly replenish a cultivator's true essence and divine power. It was far faster than absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth in other places. The black flood dragon lay on his shoulder, its demonic eyes scanning the surroundings, protecting him. In the blink of an eye, an hour passed. At this time, the sky had already darkened. Black light rolled up, and the moonlight shone on the ground. There were some black shadows on the ground that were constantly shaking. Ling Jing of Ling Jing of Ling Jing of the heavens. Someone said. Lin Tian was meditating with his eyes closed to recover his spiritual energy. Hearing this, he suddenly opened his eyes and felt a chill on his scalp. He walked into this ruined hall. Not only did he search inside the hall, he also searched outside the hall. There were no trees here, not even grass. How could there be projections of tree branches? There's something, he shouted in a low voice. The person who spoke earlier was surprised and said, "We've already scanned with our divine consciousness." Puff! A black shadow flew past the ruined hall and silently pierced through the person's chest. Then, in just a moment, the person's flesh and blood dried up. He was like a balloon without air. This chapter is not finished. Please turn the page. Then it shriveled up. In an instant, everyone's expression changed. Suddenly, huge tentacles rushed out from outside the ruined hall. Every tentacle was as black as ink and kept swaying. The whole hall shook uncontrollably. The scaly stone walls, which were already cracked, suddenly collapsed. Whoosh! 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 The group was very fast. In the blink of an eye, they all rushed out of the ruined hall. It was also at this moment that, along with a loud rumble, the ruined hall completely collapsed, causing sand and dust to rise. Looking around, the surroundings of the ruined hall were densely packed with black tentacles. They rushed out from the ground as if they were really soul-eating beasts from hell. It gave people a cold feeling. Very scary. The black dragon transmitted its voice to Lin Tian. Lin Tianyi shivered. The black dragon was at the half-step Great Tao level. For the black dragon to say, very scary, it was comparable to the Great Tao level. Even if it was not comparable to a Great Tao powerhouse, it was comparable to Jiang Luan at his peak. Boom! With a loud bang, the ground shook and cracked inch by inch. A huge creature rushed out from the ground. Its body was intertwined with gray fog, and its eyes were like a pair of blood-red lanterns. Its body was full of tentacles, like a strange octopus that lived underground. Its body was 10 feet tall. Suddenly, everyone's expression changed. This was definitely a ferocious beast. The ferocious beast shook its body. Black tentacles rolled and whipped towards the group. This scene was a little scary. The void collapsed, and a few immortal ascension powerhouses of the Seven Luminaries Empire were pierced by the tentacles. Ah! These people screamed, but their voices quickly disappeared. Their flesh and blood were all sucked dry by the ferocious beast. Lin Tian realized that there were small black holes in each of the ferocious beast's tentacles. Some of the holes were stained with blood. Clearly, the flesh and blood of those people had been sucked away through the small black holes. He retreated dozens of feet. A ferocious beast of this level was not something he could fight against. Evil beast! Elder Jihuang shouted coldly. Suddenly, a monstrous light appeared, illuminating the surroundings. At this time, Elder Jihuang's aura was majestic. Dazzling divine light intertwined around his body. Dense palm shadows and fist lights pressed down on the ferocious beast. This attack was very terrifying. In the blink of an eye, the ferocious beast suffered many heavy blows. It let out a violent roar again. For a time, the ferocious beast's dense black tentacles floated in the sky. Every time it shook, it could crush a part of the space. Lin Tianyi was shocked. He looked at Elder Jihuang again. He realized that although Elder Jihuang did not have an absolute advantage, he was still at the top. He was vaguely stronger than this huge, ferocious beast, causing this ferocious beast to roar from time to time. He's much more powerful than the great Tao cultivators of the Golden Fire Tao Gate and the phaseless immortal sect. Lin Tian thought to himself. He had fought with the Supreme Elder of the Golden Fire Tao Gate and the 8th Supreme Elder of the phaseless immortal sect. Although the two of them were at the same realm as Elder Jihuang, there was a huge gap between their combat strength and Elder Jihuang's. This also made him sigh, as expected of someone from the 3 empires. They were stronger than cultivators from other factions in the same realm. The man and beast fought, stirring up gusts of wind. At this time, many people had retreated far away. They could not interfere in such a battle. Boom! The sky gradually brightened, and the night was about to pass. At this time, Elder Jihuang had already fought with the ferocious beast for a full 6 hours. It was also at this time that a huge divine light hall rushed out from behind Elder Jihuang and pressed down on the ferocious beast, shattering it into pieces. For a moment, blood splattered all over the sky and landed on the ground. The ferocious beast's body exploded. The scene was very tragic. As expected of Elder Jihuang, Jiang Luan stepped forward. The other people of the 7 Luminaries Empire also stepped forward. Their expressions were slightly serious. Because of this ferocious beast, they had lost about 10 immortal realm experts. Now, of the dozens of people who had followed them, only 13 were left. Their expressions were very ugly. Lin Tian walked forward. The ferocious beast had rushed out from underground. The surface of the ground had completely cracked open, and it was pitch black below. He was originally looking at the corpse of the ferocious beast, but he was suddenly attracted by a ray of light from underground. That light was like a luminous pearl. He was slightly curious. The dragon patterns on the soles of his feet intertwined, bringing the light out from underground. It was a green stone about the size of a fist. It was not very eye-catching. He reached out and held it in his hand. However, the moment he held the green stone, he suddenly felt a chill down his spine. His palm also felt intense pain, as if he was holding a cactus. This caused him to involuntarily let go. The green stone immediately fell out and landed beside his feet with a clang. He was shocked. He only felt a chill rush up from the soles of his feet. The hand that was holding the green stone just now became even more painful. The black dragon looked at the green stone, and a dark light flashed in his demonic eyes. Not a good thing. At this time, the others felt Lin Tian's abnormality and looked over. "What's wrong?" Elder Jihuang asked. This great Dao expert followed Lin Tian's gaze and saw the green stone beside Lin Tian's feet. His expression instantly froze. The others looked over and were all shocked. They all felt a terrifying aura. "It's very ominous," someone said. Elder Jihuang stared at it seriously, and even Dao waves intertwined. After a while, he said, "I'm not very sure what this is, but there's something very terrifying inside. It seems to be sealed by the green stone outside. If the thing inside is allowed to rush out, even a great Dao expert would not be able to stop it. It's enough to destroy a city in a short time." Hearing this, the others' expressions changed. Lin Tian stared at the green stone beneath his feet and took a deep breath. Wisps of light and dragon patterns intertwined in his eyes. Elder Jihuang was right. This green stone had that kind of power. Elder Jihuang could not recognize it, but he could. This was because he cultivated the dragon burial scripture. This green stone contained endless murderous aura. This murderous aura condensed into a murderous core, which was equivalent to spirit chi condensing into Lingjing. If the murderous core in this fist-sized green stone exploded, the destructive power would definitely be more terrifying than when he detonated the 12 immortal meridians of the Golden Fire Dao Gate. It would be at least 5 times more terrifying, or even 10 times more terrifying. He took another deep breath, and the dragon patterns on his palm flickered. He carefully picked up the green stone from the ground. This thing was very dangerous. If he was careless and the murderous core shattered, he would be the first to die. However, if he kept it properly, this thing could definitely become a great killing weapon. Coincidentally, he had the dragon burial scripture. Although it was dangerous for him to keep such an item, the risk factor was much lower than for others. He believed that he could control it well. This way, it could become a destructive trump card for him. P.S. Here's the third update. I hope everyone enjoys watching. End of chapter. Chapter 630. When the group saw Lin Tian put away the stone, their expressions changed slightly. The nearest immortal realm cultivator could not help but take a step back. What a joke. Everyone could feel that the stone was ominous. Many people felt their scalps go numb when they stared at it, as if they were avoiding a snake or scorpion. However, Lin Tian actually put it away. Young friend Yu, the 9th Emperor Elder, wanted to say something, but stopped. This thing was simply too dangerous. If something unexpected were to happen, their entire group would most likely be in trouble. Lin Tian looked at the group and naturally understood what they were thinking. He said, "Don't worry, I can control it well. It won't harm you." Just now, when he held the blue stone, he endured the excruciating pain and branded the surface of the blue stone with dense dragon patterns. As long as the blue stone did not receive any special stimulation, the fiendish core inside would definitely not shatter, and there would be no danger. The 9th Emperor Elder did not say anything in the end. He only reminded Lin Tian to be careful. The group stopped here for a moment. When the sky was completely bright, the 9th Emperor Elder spoke, and the group continued on their way. Soon, more than 2 hours passed. In these more than 2 hours, the group traveled very smoothly. They did not encounter any danger, nor did they encounter any ferocious beasts. Gradually, the soil under their feet became dry again, and a faint burning feeling came from the depths of the ground. Lin Tian silently scanned the surroundings as he walked. Not long after, a strange tree suddenly appeared on the horizon in front of them. The reason it was called a strange tree was because it was completely snow white. Moreover, there was only this plant within a radius of several hundred feet. Other than that, there was nothing else in the surroundings. Not even a blade of grass could be seen. A white tree? This is the first time I've seen it. Many people frowned. In such a red land, there was nothing around except a white tree. This was really too strange, especially when this place was the true desolate Dao cave. Don't go near that white tree. Go straight, Zhang Luo and said sternly. The others nodded. Although Zhang Luo had made a mistake before and caused the undying domain to open, he was still a dragon-seeking grandmaster after all. Few people here would not doubt his words, especially when it came to the grand momentum of the world. At this moment, another voice rang out. Lin Tian opened his mouth and shouted in a low voice, "Don't move. Don't move a single step." At this moment, his gaze was fixed on another place. There was a small pit about several hundred feet away from the white tree. This small pit looked very ordinary, and there was nothing special about it. However, when he looked at it with the light of dragon patterns, his heart, the small pit was like a black hole, as if it was going to suck everything. However, this was not the most important thing. The most important thing was that when he looked at the white tree and the small hole together, he felt a chill run down his spine. The two were separated by a distance of several thousand feet, one in the south and one in the north. Their auras intertwined with each other, and it was very similar to another terrifying aura recorded in the Dragon Burial Scripture. It was definitely not simpler than the undying domain. Zhang Luo said coldly, and his eyes became gloomy. This Lin Tian was always arguing with him. However, the other's expressions became serious. Now, in terms of the grand momentum of the world, these people were more willing to believe in Lin Tian than Zhang Luo and the dragon-seeking grandmaster. After all, before this, Lin Tianji had to make a move, no matter what the situation was. Even Lin Tian was able to break it. "Young friend, what's wrong?" the ninth emperor elder asked. Lin Tian did not say anything. Instead, he squatted down, pulled out a small stone from the soil under his feet, and threw it to the side. In the blink of an eye, the small stone flew dozens of feet away. Qi, spiritual light and murderous aura intertwined, forming thousands of sharp sword qi that instantly shattered the small stone. Instantly, everyone was shocked. Looking forward from where he was, the sharp sword aura was simply too terrifying. It was as if it was the destructive sword aura of an indestructible chaotic Yuan heavenly treasure. Even the ninth Emperor Elder, who was at the Great Path Realm, felt his heart palpitate. A sense of horror rose within him. The sharp sword aura seemed to be able to easily penetrate him. He asked Lin Tian, "Young friend, this is Yin Yang Tomb." Lin Tian took a deep breath and said, "The small pit over there is Yin, and that white tree is Yang. The underground of the two respectively nurtures endless murderous aura and spiritual energy. Together with the ley lines here, it forms a yin-yang tai chi diagram that contains endless murderous aura. Even if a Wuzhen powerhouse accidentally enters it, he will be shattered on the spot if he takes a wrong step." His expression was very serious. "We've entered the range of the Tai Chi diagram. The yin-yang Tai Chi diagram contained peerless murderous aura. Entering it was definitely not a good thing." Hearing his words, everyone was shocked. A place that even a Wuzhen powerhouse could shatter, and they had accidentally barged in. Zhang Wan's expression became somewhat ugly again. He had seen that the white tree was very frightening, but he did not notice the small pit several hundred feet away. Now Lin Tian threw a small stone, and the small stone was shattered in the blink of an eye. Combined with the small pit and the white tree, he analyzed the frightening terrain ahead. His expression was gloomy, and he felt very embarrassed. "Then, young friend, how should we go?" the ninth Emperor Elder asked in a low voice. At this time, Zhang Wan spoke. "The range of the yin-yang Tai Chi diagram is limited. We should follow the path we took just now and walk back without leaving a single footprint. After that, we should be out of the range of the yin-yang Tai Chi diagram. After that, we should take a long detour around the white tree and the small pit for several thousand feet. This should be considered to be out of the range of the yin-yang Tai Chi diagram. In this way, there should be no danger. Hearing this, the group felt that it was quite reasonable, but no one moved. At this time, they all looked at Lin Tian. Lin Tian did not say anything. He only stared at Jiang Luan, narrowed his eyes slightly, and said, "Grandmaster Jiang is right." Jiang Luan's expression turned cold. He could naturally hear the ridicule in Lin Tian's words. "Grandmaster Jiang, let's go. You first lead the way for us." Lin Tian looked at Jiang Luan and said. Jiang Luan stared ahead. His expression was slightly gloomy, and he did not move for a moment. Lin Tian continued, "Grandmaster Jiang, you are known as the dragon-seeking Grandmaster. There should be no problem in putting your words into practice, right? Could it be that Grandmaster Jiang was just saying it casually?" He enunciated the 3 words Grandmaster Jiang particularly loudly, causing Jiang Luan's expression to become even more gloomy. This Lin Tian was clearly humiliating him. Not far away, someone copied Lin Tian's method and found a small stone in the soil. Then he turned around and threw it in the direction they had come from. Clang! Sword chi clanged as it slashed out from the ground, instantly shattering the small stone. For a moment, everyone was shocked. This is the direction I threw it in. I remember clearly walking past that place just now, and there was no problem at all. But now, why is there sword chi coming out? The person who threw the stone felt his heart palpitate. The others were also shocked. Just now, they had walked over from that direction. At that time, nothing had happened. But now, when they threw a stone back, it actually drew out such a terrifying sword chi. Jiang Luan was also shocked, and his expression became even more unsightly. He had judged wrongly again. In front of everyone, he had repeatedly judged wrongly. How could he show his face now? For a moment, he felt his cheeks burning. Most importantly, although Lin Tian was mocking him just now, he deliberately told him to walk back and try. If he had really tried just now, he would definitely have been killed by the fierce sword chi underground. He stared at Lin Tian, and his heart turned cold. Damn beast! The 9th Emperor looked at Lin Tian. My young friend, at this moment, everyone from the 7 Luminaries Empire looked at Lin Tian again, hoping that Lin Tian would have a solution. Lin Tian looked ahead and took a deep breath. The yin-yang tomb is seen as a yin-yang taiji diagram. Since it is a yin-yang taiji diagram, there must be a yin-yang line. If we are on the yin-yang line, we will not be attacked by the destructive force. Right now, we are on the yin-yang line, and we are very lucky to be in the center of it. The yin-yang line in the yin-yang tomb is constantly changing. Apart from the center of the yin-yang line, the other yin-yang lines in the front, back, left, and right will alternate after a certain period of time. When we came here, we were lucky and should have walked on the yin-yang line and also walked to the center of the yin-yang line. This center will never change and will always be safe. However, once we leave the center, it will be hard to say. If we are unable to determine the direction of the newly formed yin-yang line, one wrong step will instantly turn us into ashes. Even if we know the position of the newly formed yin-yang line, the position of the yin-yang line will still change. Moreover, the frequency of the change is unclear. It may change in an instant, or it may change after a quarter of an hour. It is hard to say. If we rashly walk out of the center of the yin-yang line, it will be very dangerous. As he spoke, he glanced at Zhang Luo and mockingly and said, "The path we took just now happened to be on the yin-yang line. However, the yin-yang line has already changed. The path we took when we came is no longer on the yin-yang line. It has already become an area of absolute destruction. If we go back the way we came, we will only be courting death. We will be struck until nothing is left." The dozens of immortal channeling cultivators of the 7 Luminaries Empire all gasped. Fortunately, they did not immediately follow Zhang Luo's words and go back. Otherwise, they would definitely have been turned into a bloody mist. Zhang Luo clenched his fists, his cheeks burning. He stared at Lin Tian even more viciously, full of murderous intent. The ninth emperor stared at Lin Tian and said, "Young friend, this is all thanks to you. Do you have a way?" The yin-yang tomb's power will be at its weakest every night when the yin and yang of heaven and earth change. At that time, as long as you have the cultivation of the peak of the Great Path, you can force your way through. Lin Tian said, "Unfortunately, we don't have anyone at the peak of the Great Path here. We can only find out the rules of the yin-yang lines changes. Only then can we walk out." Then, the ninth emperor was full of anticipation. "Young friend, can you find out the changes of the yin-yang tomb's yin-yang line?" Lin Tian took a deep breath and looked around. His expression was extremely solemn. He only said two simple words, "I'll try my best." P.S. Sorry I was delayed by something today. I'll update one more time. I'll update 3 chapters tomorrow to make up for today's delay. I hope everyone can forgive me. End of chapter. Chapter 631. Stepping into the center of the yin-yang line, the dragon patterns on the soles of Lin Tian's feet flickered, and he quickly entered the underground world to explore the direction of the earth veins. Then, almost in an instant, he saw rolling black evil spirits. They were as deep as the sea, and they made his soul tremble involuntarily. These evil spirits were no longer simple evil spirits. Under the ominous situation of the yin-yang taiji diagram, they had turned into evil spirits and killing lights. Each wisp of evil spirits was a terrifying killing sword. He took a deep breath, and the dragon patterns continued to spread out like a spider web in all directions. Not long after, the dragon patterns came into contact with a vast expanse of spiritual light. This spiritual light was also incomparably dense and frightening. But it was no longer pure spiritual light. Like the baleful aura, it now contained boundless killing intent, which was very frightening. Buzz! His right hand shone and stuck to the ground. There were also dragon patterns that intertwined and jumped along the ground in all directions. These dragon patterns crawled out of the center of the yin-yang line and approached the absolute destruction zone of yin and yang on both sides. Clang! In an instant, the black and white sword radiance rushed up at the same time. It was very ear-piercing and directly tore apart a large area of space. Such a scene shocked everyone here. The sword radiance was too terrifying. It was as if it was going to tear the world apart. Even the ninth Emperor Elder, a strong cultivator of the Great Path, felt his heart skip a beat. He couldn't help but suck in a cold breath. This person was a little worried and asked Lin Tiandao, "Sigma, my young friend Shui, this is, just stay where you are and don't move." Lin Tian didn't even turn his head. Now, he was using the dragon patterns to sense the yin-yang tomb at the same time. He understood the direction of its meridians and touched the rules of the yin-yang line. During this process, he needed to constantly use the dragon patterns to stimulate the destruction zone of yin and yang so that the yin-yang line would manifest. In this way, he could see the changes in the position of the yin-yang line over a period of time. At this moment, his gaze swept across the area. He could clearly see that a curved line had appeared, passing through the center where they were standing. It was a curved line, completely isolating the yin and yang destructive sword chi that rushed up from both sides. It was very magical. "This is the yin-yang line?" Some people were shocked. Lin Tian nodded and didn't say anything. Instead, the light of dragon tattoos flickered in his eyes as he stared seriously at the yin-yang curve that appeared. He used the dragon tattoos that had sunk into the ground to mark the position where the yin-yang curve appeared. After that, he removed the dragon patterns on the ground and repeated the same action dozens of times. Each time, the yin and yang 10,000 swords would rush out together. In the blink of an eye, 3 days passed. In these 3 days, Lin Tian's face was a little pale, and his spirit was severely depleted. However, it was also at this time that he took a deep breath and relaxed his nerves. The ninth Emperor Elder clearly felt this change, and his eyes flashed with joy. "Little friend, it's done?" Looking at Lin Tian's expression, it was clear that he had made some progress. Just barely. Lin Tiandao. Hearing his words, everyone in this place was pleasantly surprised. After all, these 4 words could be considered to have given these people hope of life. Among them, only Jiang Luan's expression wasn't good, and he snorted coldly. The 9th Emperor Elder asked Lin Tian, then, "Little friend, can you break out of this dangerous situation now? Wait for me to recover my spiritual qi and true yuan." Lin Tiandao. After 3 days of exploration, he was now very tired. He sat down cross-legged on the spot and took out a piece of Ling Jing, and the 4 extreme scriptures quickly circulated. Instantly, the spiritual qi of heaven and earth in the Ling Jing surged into his body, quickly replenishing his spiritual qi and true yuan that he had consumed. After that, another 4 hours passed before he stood up again. Around him, everyone looked at him. "Let's go," he said. "I'll walk in front and you guys walk behind. Remember, follow my footsteps." Of course. Everyone nodded seriously. At this point, when faced with such a dangerous situation, how could these people doubt Lin Tian? Lin Tian didn't say anything else. His eyes flickered, and he walked out from the center. He carefully and slowly took his first step. In these 3 days, even though he had already imprinted dense dragon marks on the ground and underground, and even though he had already figured out the changing rules of the yin-yang line, he still didn't dare to be the slightest bit careless in such a dangerous place. He walked very cautiously, and behind him, the others walked even more cautiously. They all stepped on his footsteps as they moved. Boom! Not long after they walked, terrifying sword qi rushed up from both sides of the crowd. It was overflowing with killing intent, and it was extremely terrifying. Many people's faces immediately turned pale, and their bodies couldn't help but tremble violently. Lin Tian's footsteps moved even faster, and he quickly advanced along the yin-yang line that had already appeared. The 9th Emperor Elder and the others hurriedly followed, and each of them walked very quickly. After 2 breaths, the yin and yang killing sword qi on both sides suddenly disappeared, and all of them sank into the ground. "Change direction with me, as fast as you can," Lin Tian shouted in a low voice. The dragon marks on the soles of his feet flickered, and after some positioning, he left the original position of the yin-yang line and moved a few feet to the left. The crowd didn't dare to be careless, and hurriedly moved with Lin Tian, flashing out of the original position of the yin-yang line. Only the last person was slower by a beat and didn't flash out of the original position of the yin-yang line in time. In an instant, dense sword qi rushed up from the original position of the yin-yang line and tore that person into a bloody mist on the spot, causing those who escaped to panic. That was a 9th heaven-reaching immortal powerhouse. At the same time, these people's expressions didn't look good. After all, the person who died was a member of their bloodline. Moreover, it was a member with a high cultivation base. It was a rare battle force. "Follow me. You must be fast," Lin Tian said in a low voice. He didn't look at the person who died, because there was no time now. Now, in such a dangerous place, the position of the yin-yang line was constantly changing. They had left the absolutely safe center of the yin-yang line, and it was a race against time. If they stopped for a moment, they might be in a situation where they would be wiped out. The 9th Emperor Elder and the others clearly understood, and immediately nodded heavily, moving quickly with Lin Tian's footsteps. In the following time, terrifying sword qi rushed up from this area from time to time, so terrifying that it could scare people to death. Left 3 inches away. Right 5 inches away. Right 2 inches away. Gradually, Lin Tian didn't just simply lead the way in front. He even opened his mouth and used words to point out the positions of the people behind him. Very quickly, 6 hours passed. After 6 hours, Lin Tian's tensed nerves finally relaxed, and he suddenly took a big step forward. When the people behind him saw him like this, they naturally followed him and took a big step forward at the same time. It was also at this time that Lin Tian didn't do anything else. "Young friend, what's wrong?" the 9th Emperor Elder asked nervously. The others also carefully stared at Lin Tian. Seeing that Lin Tian didn't move, they also didn't dare to move a single step. Lin Tian squatted down, picked up a piece of rock, and threw it behind him. Instantly, with a crack, the small rock was directly smashed into pieces. Then he picked up another small rock and threw it to the left. Unlike the first small rock, nothing happened to this small rock. It landed in the distance and rolled away a little safe and sound. Instantly, the crowd was pleasantly surprised. This, could it be? We've walked out of the Yin Yang tomb? Someone looked at Lin Tian. Lin Tian nodded. After 6 hours, they finally walked out of the Yin Yang tomb's range. He exhaled a mouthful of turbid air, walked out a few dozen feet, and then sat down cross-legged. He took out another piece of Lingjing to recover his true yuan and essence qi. Whether it was the 3 days spent exploring the Yin Yang tomb, or the 6 hours spent walking out of the tomb, the amount of true yuan and essence qi he had consumed was astonishing. After all, the Yin Yang tomb was too terrifying. After about an hour, he stood up and relied on the Lingjing to recover his true yuan and essence qi. Young friend, can we continue on? Elder Jihuang stepped forward and asked. Lin Tian nodded. Then the group walked into the true wilderness Dao cavern again. In the blink of an eye, another 7 days had passed. In these 7 days, Lin Tianyi realized the terror of the true wilderness Dao cavern time and time again. They had encountered many dangerous situations and terrifying demon spirits. There were a few times when they almost died, and a few immortal ascension powerhouses had died. Now the group of dozens had walked in, including Lin Tian, Elder Jihuang, and Zhang Wan. There were only 11 people left. However, it was also on this day that the group finally arrived at the depths of the true wilderness Dao cavern. There's the Grand Ancestor's aura. I can feel it. It's really here. Elder Jihuang was overjoyed. Where exactly is it? Lin Tian asked. Elder Jihuang looked left and right. According to the aura he sensed and the clairvoyance calculation, he quickly found a direction. There, Grand Ancestor. The immortal ascension cultivators of the 7 luminaries empire clenched their fists. Their eyes shone brightly. Without stopping, the group moved quickly. Soon, they crossed hundreds of feet and arrived in front of a withered mountain. It's in the mountain. That's right. The terrain is exactly as Senior Clairvoyant predicted. Also, there's the Grand Ancestor's aura inside. It's very strong. Elder Jihuang was a little excited. Beside him, the others of the 7 luminaries empire were also excited. Finally, they would be able to save their Grand Ancestor. Congratulations, Elder Jihuang. Zhang Luo smiled at Taoist Jihuang. At this time, only Lin Tian's expression changed. His back instantly turned cold, and he cursed fiercely in his heart. He stared at the withered yellow mountain in front of him. At the front of the mountain, there were 2 withered strange trees like 2 dragon horns. At the end of the mountain, there were dense black weeds like the tail of a dragon. The entire mountain was covered with bowl-sized stone spots, and upon closer inspection, they looked like pieces of scales. The entire mountain looked like an azure dragon lying on the ground. This was the King land of the dragon. Even a Nirvana realm cultivator might not be able to walk out alive if he went in. Congratulations? Congratulations, Grand Ancestor. Congratulations, 18 generations of your family. Chapter 632. The land of the coiling dragon was one of the most terrifying terrains recorded in the dragon burial scripture. Only chaotic realm experts could trespass there. He could not understand why the 7 luminaries empire's ancestor would come to such a place. The Undying region and Yin Yang tomb could not be compared to such a place. The former was a mountain, while the latter 2 were just sand. His face was a little dark as he stared ahead. The 9th Emperor Elder noticed the change in his expression and asked, "Young friend, what's wrong?" The others also looked at him. Seeing his ugly expression, their hearts skipped a beat. Someone asked Lin Tian carefully, "This place, could it be?" Lin Tian stared at the mountain in front of him. The 2 dead trees at the top of the mountain did not move at all. The black grass at the end of the mountain swayed slightly. He then looked at the huge stone markings that looked like dragon scales on the mountain. He took a few deep breaths before nodding solemnly. "There's a huge problem," he said in a low voice. Immediately, the crowd was shocked again. They had encountered many dangerous situations along the way, but they had never seen Lin Tian show such a serious expression. He took a deep breath and calmed his emotions before he said, "This place is called the Land of the Coiling Dragon. The aura of the earth veins in an area of a few thousand kilometers converges towards this place, forming an extremely terrifying domain that can even devour rebirth realm experts. Since ancient times, only experts who have reached the primal chaos realm could casually move such a huge force." The Land of the Coiling Dragon had the word dragon in it, which was enough to imagine how terrifying it was. It symbolized a place similar to the ancestral dragon's vein. Of course, this had nothing to do with the ancestral dragon's vein. It was just to show how terrifying it was. Moving such a place without permission would definitely cause a huge disaster. Hearing this, many people shuddered. This place could even devour nirvana experts. At this moment, a cold snort sounded. Zhang Wan spoke. He stared at Lin Tianling and said with a smile, "This place may not be simple, but what are you trying to say by making it so sinister and terrifying? Could it be that you're scared and don't want to save the experts of the Seven Luminaries Empire?" As he spoke, a sinister glint appeared in his eyes. "That's not a good idea. Since the Ninth Emperor Elder invited you here, and you've agreed, then you should fulfill your duty to the end. Now you want to retreat? What do you take the Seven Luminaries Empire for?" Lin Tian tilted his head and stared at Zhang Luoan. Killing intent intertwined in his eyes as he said, "Old bastard, provoking us again and again." Staring at Zhang Luoan, he took a step forward. The black flood dragon on his shoulder raised its head slightly, its demonic eyes cold. "You think I'm afraid of you?" Zhang Luo sneered and took a step towards Lin Tian. After such a period of time, his injuries had mostly healed, and his strength was close to the level of his peak. At this time, he could already firmly suppress the black dragon. At this time, the Ninth Emperor Elder stood up and tried to smooth things over again. "Both of you, there's only one last step left. Please don't argue now." The Ninth Emperor Elder looked at Lin Tian and said, "Young friend, I believe what you said. Please help the Seven Luminaries Empire to continue moving forward. After this, if you can save my clan's ancestor, I'll give you an additional 10,000 kilograms of Lingjing on top of my original promise." The Ninth Emperor Elder did not doubt Lin Tian's words at all. He was already mentally prepared. Back then, he had asked the Divination Pavilion's master godly diviner to make a prediction, and it had taken a long time. At that time, the master godly diviner had clearly said that the place where their ancestor was trapped was not a good place. Moreover, their clan's ancestor had a profound cultivation. How could a place that could trap their clan's ancestor for decades be a simple place? "Please help us, young friend Lin." Beside him, the other members of the Seven Luminaries Empire also spoke. Although they were afraid, their eyes were filled with determination. After all, the person trapped inside was their clan's ancestor. Lin Tian stared ahead and repeatedly took deep breaths. Dragon patterns flashed in his eyes, and there were also strands of light intertwining. "All right," he nodded. Since he had agreed to help the Seven Luminaries Empire, it was naturally not good for him to retreat now. That would be a despicable action. Of course, that was not the most important thing. The most important thing was that in the Dragon Burial Scripture's description of the Coiling Dragon Land, there was another sentence. Wherever the Coiling Dragon Land is, there must be an immortal treasure. He really wanted to know what kind of immortal treasure was in this place. Or rather, he really wanted to take out the immortal treasure that was nurtured in this Coiling Dragon Land. He looked at the Ninth Emperor Elder and said, "Now, stay outside the mountain and don't move. I'll explore this Dragon Mountain first." Okay. We'll listen to you, young friend." The Ninth Emperor Elder nodded repeatedly. At this time, in the face of such a dangerous situation, Lin Tian was naturally the one with the most authority. In this field, Lin Tian was even more powerful than the dragon-seeking clan's Jiang Luoan. Lin Tian nodded. He carefully stared at the dragon mountain in front of him and cautiously walked around in all directions. With every step he took, dragon patterns flashed under his feet, and he quickly sank into the ground to explore the veins of the world in this place. During this process, he saw many terrifying scenes. The dragon patterns he summoned sank into the ground and extended to the bottom of the mountain. From time to time, he would see endless darkness, and from time to time, he would see blazing divine flames. He could even see vicious spirits howling. One word, terrifying. Cold sweat dripped down his forehead from time to time. His heart was really cold. If there really is an immortal treasure in this place, I wonder what it is. It must be very shocking. He muttered to himself. With that thought, he took another deep breath and seriously branded the dragon patterns, causing them to quickly sink into the ground. He was very careful and searched seriously. After spending a total of 7 days, he finally stopped and exhaled. "Young friend, is it done?" The 9th Emperor Elder hurriedly asked. Lin Tian nodded. Without sitting down, he circulated the 4 extreme scripture to recover his essence, energy, and spirit. After another hour, his face finally became rosy again. He said to the 9th Emperor Elder, "It's done." "Good, good. Then let's go in. Everything depends on you, young friend," the 9th Emperor Elder hurriedly said. In these 7 days, he had been watching Lin Tian. From time to time, he would also stare at the Tsang Mountain in front of him. He was waiting for Lin Tian to finish his preparations and enter to rescue their ancestor. Beside him, Jiang Luoan's expression was a little ugly. The 9th Emperor Elder's last sentence of "everything depends on you, young friend" was undoubtedly treating Lin Tian as the main force of this trip and somewhat ignoring him. He was also someone who had been invited. However, he had now become Lin Tian's subordinate. This caused his eyes to become even more vicious as he stared at Lin Tian. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. Lin Tian's essence, energy, and spirit had already recovered to their peak. At this moment, he stared at the Tsang Dragon Mountain in front of him and slowly stepped forward. Just like in the Yin-Yang tomb, "Follow me carefully. Follow me wherever I go," he said. The 9th Emperor Elder and the others naturally did not have any objections and hurriedly nodded. This was related to their lives, and also related to whether they could successfully rescue their ancestor who was trapped in the Dragon Mountain. Lin Tian walked forward and found the northern part of the mountain range to enter. After 7 days of searching, he found that the aura of the earth vein in this direction was the weakest. It was the safest place to enter from. As he got closer, he truly discovered the majesty of this mountain range. It had a very frightening aura. He did not say anything and quickly entered the mountain range. The mountain range was very large. There was some gray-white powder on the ground. As the group walked, the gray-white powder floated up bit by bit like white smoke. Lin Tian walked in front. Not long after, he seemed to have stepped on something, and a crisp cracking sound was heard. He hurriedly moved away and looked down. Only then did he discover that he had stepped on a human skull that had sunk into the ground. The human skull had shattered and turned into gray-white bone powder. Staring at this scene, his heart suddenly jumped. He looked back and saw the gray-white powder on the ground. Could it be that they were all ashes after the bones had been crushed? His heart trembled. How many people had died? Moreover, how long had they died for such a scene to occur? The 9th Emperor Elder and the others looked under Lin Tian's feet. The skull that Lin Tian had stepped on had not completely shattered, and there were still a few small fragments. Staring at this scene, these people clearly thought of the same thing as Lin Tian, and their expressions all changed. This place, some people trembled. Lin Tian took a deep breath and said, "Let's go." As he spoke, he stepped on the gray-white bone powder and continued to walk deeper into the mountain range. Not long after, he found a huge mountain cave. Looking from afar, the inside of the mountain cave was filled with black mist, as if it had floated out from hell. It was very frightening. The Grand Ancestor's aura is coming from inside. The ninth Emperor Elder said excitedly. Lin Tian didn't say anything. He moved his feet and walked into the cave. Just as he entered the mountain cave, he immediately felt his body become cold. The temperature inside the mountain cave was shockingly low. He stared ahead, and the dragon tattoos in his eyes flickered. The dragon tattoos on the soles of his feet spread out, and every step he took was very careful. Da-ba! 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 The cave seemed to be dead silent. Walking in here, only the footsteps of a group of people could be heard echoing from both sides. In next to no time, their group walked for around 1 kilometer before numerous forked paths appeared ahead. All of them were completely pitch black, and it seemed like numerous demon pythons were lying there with their bloody mouths wide open as they waited for their prey to walk into their stomachs. Little friend, which fork should we take? The ninth Emperor Elder asked. After entering the mountain cave, his perception of the Grand Ancestor's aura became weaker. It was as if the Grand Ancestor's aura of the Grand Ancestor was coming from every fork. The dragon tattoos on the soles of Lin Tian's feet intertwined. After a while, he pointed to the right and said, "This way." Whoosh! Suddenly, the sound of something breaking through the air rang out. It was extremely cold, and it directly interrupted Lin Tian's words. Then, a scream immediately rang out. In their group, one of their heads suddenly shattered. Brain matter mixed with blood splattered everywhere, and some landed on the faces of the people next to him. Chapter 633. It happened so suddenly that no one could react. Even the ninth Emperor Elder, a powerful existence in the Grand Virtue Realm, didn't know what happened. He only felt a gust of cold wind. Then, one of them, a seventh heaven-reaching immortal realm expert, had his head crushed. At this moment, he fell straight down and couldn't be more dead. The crowd was shocked. As far as the eye could see, half of the head of the reaching immortal realm cultivator on the ground had been opened. His brain matter and blood flowed together. Moreover, in his head, there was a tuft of pitch-black beast hair that was surrounded by an extremely cold aura. Lin Tian looked over, and his eyes narrowed. The beast hair was clearly intertwined with extremely dense earth vein, baleful qi, and yin qi. The ninth Emperor Elder looked at Lin Tian. Young friend, another seventh heaven of the reaching immortal realm powerhouse died. Even for the three empires, this was not a light loss. I already said that the coiling Dragonland is full of dangers. Many times when you enter this place, you don't even know how you died. Lin Tian Ondao. The ninth Emperor Elder's expression was somewhat ugly, and the others' faces were even paler. Let's go. Everyone be 120% alert. Lin Tian said. He led the way, following a fork in the road, and continued to walk forward. The group of people followed behind him. All of them had solemn expressions as they cautiously sized up their surroundings. There were forks everywhere in the mountain cave. As the group walked in, they all appeared to be very careful. A faint black fog lingered. Soon an hour passed. Stop, Lin Tian suddenly said, his expression slightly serious. Hearing his words, the crowd hurriedly stopped and looked at him. The ninth Emperor Elder asked, "Young friend, what's wrong?" Lin Tian did not say anything. He only raised his hand and pointed at his feet. The ninth Emperor Elder and the others followed his finger and saw a corpse lying on the ground. The head was opened, and blood mixed with brain matter flowed on the ground. The death was very miserable. Immediately, the crowd's pupils constricted. This was clearly the person who had been killed by the unknown creature not long after entering the cave. They had clearly left that place, but at this moment, they actually saw this corpse again. Did they actually return to the place just now? Zhang Luo and looked at Lin Tian and bellowed, "How did you lead the way? He brought us back to where we started." Lin Tian glanced at Zhang Luan and said coldly, "Old thing, are you an idiot? Look around before you speak. It's not the same place as before. The environment is different." Someone said, although there were many forks in this place, there were fewer forks, which was very different from the previous place. However, it was also because of this that the atmosphere suddenly became even more horrifying. How? How did he get in front of us? Someone said with a trembling voice. A person who had died behind them, a corpse, was now in front of them, lying quietly on the ground. Above the shattered skull, a single blood-stained eye was staring at them, as if it was the most terrifying, vengeful spirit. This scene made many people's scalps tingle. Lin Tian lowered his head and looked. After a while, he said, "His heart has also been dug out. Also, look at his left wrist." Hearing his words, the crowd looked over. Immediately, their pupils constricted again. There were black marks on the corpse's left wrist. They looked like fingerprints left behind by someone who had grabbed the wrist. However, they were much thicker than the fingerprints. Something is dragging this corpse in front of us, avoiding the detection of all of our divine senses. Lin Tian Dao. These words were a little scary, but these people knew very well that Lin Tian was not lying at all. This should be the case. What should we do? Someone's voice trembled. Danger was not scary, but unknown danger was. Lin Tian shook his head. The creature in the dark seemed to be able to avoid divine senses, so they could not find it. "Let's go," he said. At this time, there was really no other way but to let the group be more cautious. He walked at the front, appearing to be the most careful. In his sea of consciousness, the yin-yang lotus sea swayed slightly. Soon, the forks in the surroundings became fewer and fewer. All the forks merged together, condensing into an inner mountain path that was about 10 feet wide, leading all the way to the depths. Similarly, there was a faint black mist lingering inside, which was very gloomy and cold. It was also at this time that Lin Tian felt a chill on his scalp, and a cold air attacked him. "Is it here?" His eyes were filled with a sharp light, and the light between his eyebrows shone brightly, directly supporting the vision in his sea of consciousness. At first, when someone was killed, he knew that there was a terrifying creature in the dark. After that, when that person's corpse appeared in front of them, he knew that the creature in the dark had been spying on them. Moreover, his divine senses could not scan the other party. After that, he secretly operated the vision in his sea of consciousness. He could not scan the other party with his divine senses, but his vision in his sea of consciousness was very unusual. It was enough to sense special danger at close range. As long as the other party was within a certain distance, he believed that he would be able to sense it. And in fact, that was indeed the case. Now he had captured the other party. In an instant, the black and white lotus petals fluttered, illuminating the surroundings and blocking a beast claw that was reaching towards him. That is, the crowd's expression changed. Lin Tian's vision in his sea of consciousness illuminated the surrounding space. An ape-like creature appeared in everyone's vision. Its entire body was covered in pitch-black beast fur, but it had human faces. Moreover, there was more than one human face. There were dozens of human faces densely packed together, and every human face had a ferocious expression. It gave off a strange and evil feeling. "What are you waiting for?" Lin Tian shouted. At the same time, the black and white lotus petals intertwined, completely enveloping this strange creature. The ninth Imperial Elder was the first to react. When he caught hold of this strange creature, his strength as a great virtue realm cultivator was fully displayed. A large hand made of light stretched out, containing the power of the great virtue, and directly grabbed the monster. The monster roared, and the dozens of human faces all had fangs in their mouths. All of them roared fiercely, and there was even black saliva flowing out. A terrifying wave of energy intertwined, causing everyone in this place to feel their hearts palpitate. It's comparable to an elite at the peak of the connecting immortal realm. Someone said. The ninth Imperial Elder snorted coldly. He exerted force in his large hand, and Tao laws intertwined. With a poof, the monster was crushed into pieces. Blood flowed on the ground, and the monster's corpse fell to the ground. The dozens of human faces that had been crushed could be seen, and it was terrifying. An elite at the connecting immortal realm Tier 8 of the Seven Luminaries Empire felt a chill in his heart. What is this? There is actually such a thing? An ape-like creature with dozens of human faces. It was too strange. It's not strange to have anything in the land of the coiling dragon. Lin Tiandao. He did not say anything else. He followed the only path and walked forward more cautiously. This path was very wide, but there was more black fog. The air was even colder than when they had just entered the cave. As they walked forward, the group soon walked a few hundred feet. At this time, everyone was shocked to find that their divine senses were actually suppressed. They could not play the same role as usual and could only extend about 10 feet. This caused many people to frown, but unfortunately, they could not change anything. They could only become more cautious and careful. In the blink of an eye, another 15 minutes passed. "Stop!" Lin Tian shouted in a low voice. In front of them, white fog floated in wisps. The space was silent, and there were many white bones lying on the ground. He did not look at those white bones. Instead, he stared at the terrain in front of him with a serious expression. Devouring Path, Evil Soil. Devouring Path, Evil Soil was a terrifying situation. Although it could not be compared to the Undying Region and the Yin-Yang Tomb, it was close. He had encountered it in the Immortal Demon Ancient Range. He did not expect to encounter it again, and it was in the land of the Coiling Dragon. This caused his expression to turn serious. As expected of the land of the Coiling Dragon that could even devour Nirvana elites. Not only was it a terrifying terrain, but it also gave birth to such a dangerous situation like the Devouring Path, Evil Soil. "Young friend, is there a problem?" Elder Jihuang asked. Lin Tian nodded and said, "Tell everyone not to move. If I don't say anything, no one will move." He squatted down and seriously engraved the dragon-breaking seal and dragon-opening seal, causing the dragon patterns to extend. Now that his understanding of the dragon burial scripture had deepened, he was confident that he could temporarily suppress the Devouring Path, Evil Soil, if he encountered it again. Around 15 minutes later, he stood up. His right leg trembled slightly, and the dragon patterns immediately spread out and extended forward. "Let's go. We only have 3 breaths of time to be safe," he said. With that, he was the first to charge forward like a bolt of lightning. The others followed behind him. They were naturally not slow, and they safely passed through the Devouring Path, Evil Soil within 3 breaths of time. Lin Tian glanced behind him. The 2 dragon patterns he had set up had coincidentally dissipated. Without saying anything, he continued to walk at the front and headed deeper. After that, he led the group into the depths. They encountered many terrifying dangers, some of which were no less dangerous than the Yin-Yang Tomb. Moreover, during this process, they also encountered many strange creatures. After 3 days, a few more people in their group died. Now, including him, there were only 7 people left. On this day, a cave abode appeared in front of them. The cave abode was very large, and there were spots of light vaguely coming from it. Ancestor's aura. It's very dense, and it's in that cave abode. The 9th Emperor Elder was extremely excited. Almost at the same time, a hoarse voice came from within the abode. "Be but the people of the 7 luminaries." Imperial Court. This voice was very old, weak, and unpleasant to hear, as if 2 pieces of glass were rubbing against each other. The 9th Emperor Elder and the other 5 Seven Luminaries Empire powerhouses who were still alive were overjoyed, and they all looked excited. The trapped ancestor of his lineage had finally been found. "Ancestor, it's us. We're here to save you," the 9th Emperor Elder said loudly. Together with the other 5 Seven Luminaries Empire powerhouses, they quickened their pace and soon arrived in front of the cave abode. However, they did not barge in directly, but stood about 2 feet away from the cave abode. Even though they were excited, they didn't act rashly. The abode that was able to trap the ancestor of their bloodline was absolutely not simple, and it was definitely a terrifying and dangerous situation. If they rashly barged into the abode, not only would they be of no use in the slightest, they might even cause trouble. Lin Tian naturally came in front of the cave abode as well. Looking around, the cave abode was not big, and there were many strange stone bones scattered on the ground, emitting spots of light. Among them, a withered old man sat cross-legged. His eyes were sunken, and his body was so thin that it was unrecognizable. It was as if there was only a layer of skin wrapped around his skeleton. He looked like a dried corpse. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.